tutorial. Today we're going to do heel toe. So before we get there, today I'm wearing my Pelote Super Strata casual driving shoes. Do you need driving shoes to drive stick? Absolutely not. You can drive in sneakers, boots, anything comfortable, even barefoot. But if you want driving shoes, if you drive a lot, they do help. And Pelote is offering a special discount. Use code TSTFAN at drivinggear.com and we'll get you a special discount on Pelote driving shoes or any other of the accessories at Driving Gear. Anyway, heel toe. So basically what heel toe is you have 3 pedals and 2 feet. And you need to operate all 3 of those pedals at the same time using only 2 feet. Your left foot only does the clutch, pretty much. If you're talking, there's highly advanced left foot braking techniques, but that's racetrack stuff. For heel toeing, your left foot only does the clutch. That leaves your right foot to handle the gas and the brake. Okay? Heel toe is a highly specific term, but it doesn't need to be a highly specific act. Meaning, the goal is to operate the brake and the gas with one foot at the same time. So for some people, that means actually using their toe and bending their foot over to the right to use their heel, and which is a technique I have to do when cars are really spaced far apart, the pedals are far apart. Although for some people like me with big feet, it's actually not your heel and your toe. It's actually just the left side of your foot and the right side of your foot. So you can see here, the ball of my foot on the left is managing the brake, and then my right side is blipping the throttle, okay? And that is your motion, brake, throttle. And to be good at heel toeing, you have to do this regardless of light brake pressure, medium brake pressure, or heavy brake pressure. So light brake pressure, here's a blip. Medium brake pressure, here's a blip. Strong brake pressure, there's a blip. Okay, so it's a weird motion. It takes some getting used to, but it's like playing a musical instrument or doing anything. It feels very awkward at first, but the more you do it, the more second nature it becomes. The point of doing heel toe, the point of driving like this. Now, I drive like this all the time. Where I'm on the street, I'm on the track, I'm in traffic. My right foot is always covering both these pedals. The point of heel toe is to drive smoothly. Smooth, as I like to say, leads to fast and not the other way around. So this is how you drive smoothly, by managing your brake. Basically, the left side of my foot and the right side of my foot are doing completely independent actions. And so being able to do that is what we're really going for. Sidebar real quick, guys. Before we get too far into the mechanics of how to downshift properly using heel toe, let's talk about when to downshift or when not to downshift. Here is your tachometer, or at least a hypothetical tachometer I have made up. Down here is where the engine starts to bog. Here is a hypothetical peak torque figure, and here is a hypothetical peak horsepower figure. Now, when you're downshifting, what you want to avoid is going past the red line, right? That's called a mechanical over rev. So if you're here and choose to downshift at 5,000 RPM, you could mechanically, by the motion of the wheels and the clutch, move the engine past its own red line and potentially cause some real damage. That's why they call that a money shift. Mechanical over rev is if you rev the engine using the car's the clutch and the gearbox past its own red line, okay? So you want to take note of the spacing in between your gears. So if you know that there's 1,500 RPM between third and fourth gear, if you don't have that RPM to work with here, you better not downshift. So, 2 scenarios. 1, you're going slowly. 2, you're driving aggressively like in the canyons or on the track. When you're going slowly, you can ride this gear all the way down here, almost to where you bog, and then blip it and go to the next gear down. Like my impression there. When you're going quickly, I like to keep the engine between peak torque and peak horsepower. Now you can look up where those are for your own car, but as you're coming down, I like to downshift so that when I go back into the gear, it's right here at that peak torque when I engage the next gear. So I upshift right around peak horsepower, and I downshift at or just below peak torque. Now back to the mechanics of heel toe. I'm going to demonstrate it. You still need your basic blip. So if you're just cruising and you want to drop a gear to go faster, you can still use your basic blip. So you don't want to forget about that. But as we go down the hill here, I will demonstrate heel toe. It involves basically braking for a corner and then going down to the gear you want to be in to exit that corner. Okay, so here I am. I'm in third gear, going down the hill in the Focus RS, and I'm going to go up to fourth, which is a gear higher than I need to be. Okay, next corner, brake, blip, and down. That's the motion. As I am doing my blip, that's when I'm moving the lever. Down to second, brake, blip, there we go, okay? In the first how to drive stick video, I said 7 seconds to release the clutch, and that is true when you're a beginner. The way I drive, it's more like 2 or 3, because again, smooth leads to fast and not the other way around. The key is smooth. So I'm going to go to second here, brake, blip, there's the downshift, okay? And then back on the gas, back up to third, need a second, brake, blip, all right? So I can do that if I have firm brakes, I can blip. If I have light brakes, I can blip. So we're in third, going some back and forth here, and I've got a left-hander. I'm gonna go to second, brake, blip, done. Okay, and I'm doing it a little slower than I would normally do it in order to demonstrate. Normally I'd do a little faster, so here's fast. So that's normal speed, okay, for me. But smooth leads to fast. If you can do it slow, so here, it matches. Go up to third. Mid-corner, right? Here's where I want to match it perfectly. In the mid-corner, it's important to rev match perfectly because you don't want to buck the car in the corner and upset the balance. Here's down again. Quicker, okay? Oh, I need to brake. Down to third. Down to second. So really all it is getting comfortable with your right foot doing 2 things at the same time. It's like playing drums or playing guitar. You know, your left hand's got to bend in these weird ways while your right hand's picking. That feels weird, but it's just muscle memory. Once you learn how to do that, you get used to it, and it becomes no big deal. And that's why I like to say that heel towing is just the way, because I'd rather learn one way, I'd rather teach one way that applies to everything. We're gonna go down to second, brake. So that bending of the foot, bending around, is an awkward motion at first. It takes a few weeks, months to practice that. That's a weird motion, but once you get it, here's third. I'm gonna go down 2 gears here. Down third and then second. Here's third, brake, second. The point being, you want to be in the appropriate gear for exiting the corner. And that means right in your power band, but not right at your red line, because you need some room to work. Okay, I'm gonna go down to second. On light brake, see that? Very easy. You want to be able to do it completely independent of how hard you have to brake. So that's why I say do it all the time. Practice all the time. Light braking, heavy braking. That one wasn't a very good one, I'm sorry. I'm not perfect always either, but just by learning this one technique, you can drive like this in the city, you can drive like this on the highway, you can drive like this in the canyons and on the racetrack without having to change your technique at all. Down to second. And once you get the motions, once you get the timing, then you can go faster and faster. So I always, as I'm coming to a stop, I'll always downshift a couple gears. So here's down to third, and now we're gonna go down to second. I don't go to first. I don't ever downshift to first. Downshift to first is really, I mean, unless you're in a very unique car where you have a very long first gear. I can't make a rule for every car, but in a modern 5 or 6 speed car, you're not really going to first very often unless you're basically stopped. So that is, we'll go a little quicker now. Okay, thank you, truck. Okay, down. Oh, I'm not even in sports mode to make it sound good, sport mode. All right, so I'm gonna go into 4th gear. Need to go down to 3rd here, light braking, there we go. And now let's just pretend there's nobody behind me, but we'll go back to 4th gear. Oh, I need to come to a quick stop. See how quick I can do that? That's the heavy braking. And if you're coming in the end of a back straight on a racetrack, same kind of deal. That's your heavy braking. Maybe you've got to go 2 gears down. There, I'm gonna go to 3rd. So it's the inverse. You know, you lift to shift up, you blip to shift down. And then if you're really, you know, if you're proficient and full of practice, then you can use the brake and the gas at the same time, and then you're driving. Then you're really driving. The difference is when people get out of a car with me, they're usually like, oh, you're so smooth. And I'm so smooth because I can heel toe properly. That's kind of the thing. Down to 3rd. So, that is a primer on heel toe driving. I hope that's been educational. I'm sure I haven't covered everything, but as you do, if there's something you want to learn, I'm happy to do a version 2.5. You guys had some really good questions in the first videos about the next steps and such, and so I hope that I've done a good job showing you how I drive heel toe. And you can take that home with you and practice. And then if you want to learn more, you know, leave a comment, and I'm happy to make another video that teaches you the next steps from here. So thank you for watching. Go to drivinggear.com and use code TSTFan if you want to check out some of these really nice Pelote Superstrata or any of the other Pelote line of shoes. Nice discount for the TST fans. And yeah, thanks for watching. See you later. A couple weeks ago on the Smoking Tire, we tried to answer the question, what if a hot rod could handle? Well, today we're going to answer the question, what if a hot rod is built for top-end performance? That's why I brought my old friend Mike Musto, Mr. Angry.
What's up, Matt?
Good to see you again.
You too, dude.
We used to do a serious show together.
Yeah,
did Garage 419, many episodes. Yep. And he's brought out his car, the 1969 Dodge Daytona. Now tell me about the car.
Yeah, basically what we wanted to do was create something that no one had ever seen before. You know, there's a lot of Pro Touring cars, a lot of 69 Camaros and things like that. We wanted to do something that was just new, and we wanted to break the mold. And nobody had ever done a Pro Touring Daytona before.
All right, good enough for us. Today on the Smoking Tire, we're going to take this ridiculously long and very, very black car for a ride and find out what it is about Pro Touring that makes us want to stop and say, I want one. I'm Matt, that's Mike, and you're watching the Smoking Tire. You thought Lotus, what you were really thinking of was this. How much original is in this and how much is upgraded?
This is actually mostly original. This started life as a 1969 Dodge Charger.
Not an original Daytona.
Not an original Daytona.
Right.
They made 504 of those, and honestly, we weren't going to cut one up.
Yeah.
You know, this is identical to Daytona in every way from a visual and functionality point of view. Everything from the rear window plug to the nose cone to the rear wing, These are all pieces that Dodge actually made to make this car achieve the speeds that it achieved back in 1969.
And the history behind this car, the quick version, is this was a homologation car for NASCAR.
Correct.
Back when they actually ran production-based cars.
Correct.
And I believe it was too fast.
It was. They ran this car for 1 year, and it pretty much spanked everything on the racetrack, and everybody bitched and moaned, and the NASCAR said, that's good, and they pulled them. I can tell you that at speed, and by speed I mean well over 100 miles an hour, the car is unbelievably stable. It just squats down and then just goes.
Now, what about under this hood here? What are we looking at under there?
Under the hood, it's a 400 cubic inch that was punched out to 471. It makes about 510 horsepower, 515 horsepower around there.
Okay.
You know, we've updated things like the transmission with a 5-speed Kiesler unit. The brakes are it's a one-off brake kit with 14-inch rotors off an SRT8 and Viper calipers. I wanted a car that was comfortable. You know, and I built this car with my buddy Todd Ford, and we said, okay, well, we want to be able to drive this thing across the country, and we don't want to die.
Yeah.
So the car's got AC, it's got cruise control, the suspension's been updated, and it really, truly rides like a modern car. You can drive it all day long. You turn the AC on if you want. You're not going to break your sweat. Turn the cruise control on and just sit back and run.
Now, this car is absolutely massive. A Suburban, current generation Chevy Suburban, is 222 inches long.
Okay, this is probably...
How long is this? I will stand here, and you will measure.
Probably pretty damn close.
That's right about there. That's the front. What do you got?
We are talking 220, about 221 and a half.
It is massive.
Yeah, but it looks, I mean, again, one of the biggest things to have the opportunity to build something like this that you've dreamed about as a kid, and then to let people enjoy it, to go out and drive it and see the looks on little kids, and you know.
Let people enjoy it.
That's the key.
You should let me enjoy it right this second.
I think you're super lucky because the keys are in the ignition.
Oh, yeah. You hold this.
Yeah, thanks.
And I'll see you.
Yeah.
You know what the best thing is about bridges? There's nowhere for cops to hide. And I think I may have to explore this car's straight line potential, which is why I'm going 20 leading up to the bridge. And downshifting into first. Yeah. Go, baby, go! Okay, that's potential jail time right there. The most interesting thing about this car is the way it looks. The nose cone, the giant wing, the aerodynamic stuff. And what's important about that is that unlike other muscle cars of this era, this thing actually has functional aerodynamics. They say that at speed, 60% of a car's horsepower is used to overcome aerodynamic drag. And so what that means is, if you have a car that makes less drag, you don't really need as much horsepower to go fast. So 510 horsepower may not sound like much for a big muscle car, but the important thing to know is this car has a drag coefficient of 0.28. I looked it up. A Prius is 0.25. Other supercars like the Ferrari 430, the Ferrari F40 even, are about 0.34. Even the SSC Ultimate Aero, at one point the fastest car in the world, is 0.35. So at 19 feet long and 4,200 pounds, this car still has a coefficient of drag that's better than most modern cars. It's absolutely incredible. You know, even though Mike has modified a ton of stuff on this car, there's a lot of it that's original too. The dash, the center console, in fact, the whole interior pretty much, except for the steering wheel and the seats, is original Daytona stuff. That sound. It sounds so good. I would bet that there's something else that does really well too. Should we try that? Yeah, we should.
You don't even have to drive this car. You can just look at it to know that this car is absolutely what pro touring is all about. And it's worthy of its nomination for the Hemmings Muscle Machines Muscle Car of the Year Award. In fact, this is the only pro touring car that's up for that nomination. So we wish Mike the best of luck of that. And if you want to help Mike, support him in his efforts to build more of these badass rides, buy one of these t-shirts from him. I got one, Tom's got one, Mike's got one. Go to MrAngryInc.com and order yourself a t-shirt. If there's one thing I've learned today, it's that I like my muscle cars like Kim Kardashian likes her men. Really big and really black. I'm Matt Farah. See you guys next week. Oh look, a school zone. Let's make some noise. Hello, officer. That one was for you. Just trying to keep you on your toes. Welcome to California's second most famous road, Mulholland Highway, where today I'm going to do a one-take on the snake with the 2013 Audi RS5. In 2009 and 2010, I had an S5, and while it was fun and a very nice, cool-looking luxury car, it was far from a sports car. Now we've got more horsepower, bigger wheels, better suspension, and all-around air of badass. So, let's take a run, see how she do. The RS series of cars is the most hardcore that Audis get from the factory. It's their highest performing cars. It's designed for the track, high performance driving and such. Now the S5 that I had, I really liked it, even though it only had 350 horsepower, it was a little underpowered. But it was really nice to drive. As a daily driver and, you know, weekend cruiser, it was fun. So in the RS5, a lot of it is the same. The seats are the same. The interior, for the most part, is the same. We have a new screen, which is nice. It's brighter. It's more colorful. And you've got this flat bottom steering wheel, which honestly I think is a little silly in a car like this because it's not like you need the room to get in and out of it. It's a pretty big, spacious car. So the flat bottom doesn't add much, but it's an RS car, so you get it. Dual clutch transmission, 7-speed, 4.2 liter V8 up front. You've got the Audi Drive Select system, which means you can switch the dynamics of the car from suspension, engine and transmission and steering to comfort, dynamic, auto, or it has an individual setting where you can actually choose each one individually. And the exhaust changes, so I'm in comfort now, put it in dynamic and you can hear the exhaust change. Hear that? All right, so now I'm in dynamic, maximum performance mode. We'll go to sport manual and let's take a run down the snake. All right, here we go. Shifts nice and quick. The red line is absolutely sky high in this engine. It's 8,500 RPM, and it kind of does require you to think a little differently about how you drive. The gearing, there's so many revs for every gear that where you'd usually want to, you know, shift up at 5,000 or 6,000 RPM, you're really, that's where power gets started in this car. Really makes power way up high, and I can probably go all the way down to the snake in just second gear. On dynamic mode, the steering is really heavy, much heavier than it is in. Nice lip though, lip's hard. It's got nice big brakes. This new Clover design brake helps keeps it cool, reduces unsprung weight. Let's see how the turning is here. Yeah. Everyone says this thing understeers like crazy, and I'm not surprised because the engine is way out front of the car. But I don't think it's that bad. With Audi's sport differential, the torque vectoring kind of brings the back end around pretty nicely, I'd say. Now, granted, I have not driven on the track, so at the absolute limit, which I refuse to do on the street, it might be different, but weekend canyon carving is not bad. Yes, what happens is this thing, it makes all its power way at the top of the power band, so you really do have to wind it out quite a bit. Consequently, when you just leave it in drive, it feels sluggish. It doesn't really want to rev up, and you don't really get to access any of the torque when it's in drive, so it does feel a little slow. And then what happens is if you put it in sport auto, if you're driving around town, it winds it out like almost too much. I would say the car could really use a setting in between regular drive and sport auto. In manual mode, none of this is an issue because you control the gears yourself. Makes a great sound. It's a little less raspy than the M3, but not quite as guttural, is that the word? As the C63. And it's certainly much more planted than the C63, which is super tail happy. Dynamically though, it's not as good as the M3, but if you want something with all-wheel drive though, I mean, this is nice. I love how it every time you shift gears. Sounds good. There we go. Pretty impressive with its shifts in dynamic mode. The shifts are nice and smooth in regular mode. Although occasionally I do question its gear choice when I leave it in sport. Sometimes it likes to just hang out at 6,000 RPM in sport auto. So now we're at the bottom of the hill. What we're going to do is turn around and I'm going to go back up the hill, but I'm going to leave it in sport auto just to see what it does on its own. So let's do that. Back up the hill, and I have turned traction control off and I'm left it in sport auto, so we're going to let it choose its own gears, and I'm going to see if this understeer that everyone talks about is present. Let's see what kind of gear selections this thing makes. Other random cool stuff about the car, Bang & Olufsen stereo, sounds really nice. Ooh. It's strange, you know, when you don't tug the paddle and it chooses its own gears, but it still shifts really fast. It's strange how it kind of almost sneaks up on you a little bit. Got meaty tires, square stance, 275s all around. I think they're Pirellis. There's the understeer. Well, it's really not so bad. How about under braking? Well, no. It's staying in the right gear. It's holding the gear through the corner. That's good. Look at this. See, it's holding the gear for me. That's good. All right. So on the street, sport auto is a little silly, but in the canyon, it actually works pretty good. Staying in the right gear. Yeah, I hate to say it because I really do want to like this car a lot. It's not as good as the M3 in terms of driving dynamics. It just isn't. It's too heavy, and it's a lot of weight in the nose, and a lot of the steering feel is sort of, I don't know, it's just not as pure as I want it to be, but it is fast. The 0 to 60 number, which I think is somewhere in the middle fours, I honestly haven't looked, is a little misleading on cars like this. These Audis tend to not have great 0 to 60 times because they don't have the torque. But that doesn't mean that once you're rolling, they aren't properly quick. And this car, once you're rolling and once you've got the engine and the power band, it is very, very quick. I'm not sure on this understeer. I think it's not, whoa, that guy should stay on his side of the fucking fence. I think it's pretty good. Best handling car I've ever driven? No, but it's totally acceptable for a weekend canyon run, and it's absolutely luxurious enough to be a daily driver. And I mean, it sounds really good when it winds out. A double downshift there under braking. Out here, the transmission is really responding well to what I'm doing. I'm kind of happy with it. Yeah, good car. This is a good car. I like it. It's a lot better than the S5. It's a lot faster. It handles a lot better. It sounds better. And it's exactly $20,000 more than my S5 was. So you do get quite a lot for your money. It's very competitively priced to the M3 and the C63. And all three of those cars have very unique characteristics. I mean, if you live somewhere that has bad weather and you want a fun car, this is a great option. And I imagine with some good snow tires on it, it would be absolutely killer in the snow. Mine was amazing in the snow, which the M3 and the C63, I mean, come on, they're not for snow. On a racetrack, you probably want the M3. It's just dynamically better, and it tells the driver more what's going on than the RS5 does. And the C63 is really for doing burnouts. That's what it's for. But this is a good car, and that's all I have to say about it. Wait, let me see. Do I have launch control? Okay, traction control's off. I'm in manual. I'm in dynamic. Mat the brake. Mat the gas. Get launch control that launches the shit out of you. It's great.
You're alive! Oh, the screen is cracked. Okay.
Hey everyone, before I show you the C8 video, I just want to tell you one thing. This is not an ad. We did the C8 as part of the Road and Track Performance Car of the Year test. The big written piece with the beautiful photography, that's the most important thing, and I contributed to that as well, and I look forward to seeing that. This C8, it's a very important car, and a lot of you are going to put weight behind what I have to say about it from this video. This video, other than the little 2-lap just noise video that I made before, this is the first time I drove the car, okay? Those laps plus these laps, first time I drove the car. And I just want to say that my thoughts in this drive evolved further as I drove the car more throughout the week on the road. So I want you to watch this video, enjoy this video, believe what you're hearing me say, and then I want to explain some things a little further at the back end of this video. So if you want to stick around for a little more thorough explanation of my thoughts on the C8, stick around at the end and I'll give you some more. Yo, what up everybody? Welcome to Thunderhill Raceway West. That's the smaller of the two courses here at Thunderhill in Northern California. I'm so excited. I'm here for Performance Car of the Year for Road and Track. We got a bunch of cool cars to drive, but frankly, this show, it's the Vette and everything else. It's the new Vette. This is it. I'm in it. I'm driving it. This is a very early pre-production build. Okay, so we're not going to judge build quality, materials yet. What we're here to do is drive it on a racetrack and tell you how it drives, show you how it sounds. And I can tell you just right now, sitting in it, the seats are really comfortable. I'm on the larger side of what will fit in this seat, but it's comfortable. I'm sitting in the right position. My head isn't crunched in the ceiling, even with a helmet on. The roof comes off. It's a car meant for tall people. The cockpit is very driver-oriented. Everything comes towards the driver. I love how close the touchscreen is and how it's angled to me. I like the feel of the buttons a lot. I don't want to dwell on that kind of stuff because, again, not final production. Importantly, things to know. The new Vette, this one has the 3LT and the Z51 package. So this is pretty much the nicest, best performing, quote, regular C8 you're going to get. It's got a 495 horsepower, 369 pound-feet of torque, LT2, small block, dry sump V8 in the back. Okay, the sound will be familiar to you. It has a new dual clutch gearbox built by Tremec. It has, with 8 speeds, a first for Corvette. This is going to be a big deal for us. Double wishbone suspension, front and rear, with magnetic ride. We're combining the best shock system with the best suspension geometries in this car, so it should handle and ride really well. It has electric power steering, 13.5-inch Brembo brakes, 4-piston front and rear. While they haven't given us a curb weight yet, the dry weight is 33 something, so it's going to be like 35. Let's go for a drive. Manual mode. I'm in track. The traction control is fully disabled. Now, there aren't, frankly, a lot of cars you can buy with a naturally aspirated mid-engine configuration. There just aren't many left, if any. So, could Corvette be the one to carry that torch? Smooth upshifts immediately. Whoa, holy grip at the front end, Batman. 6,000 RPM redline, getting a point by. Does that sound familiar to anybody? It sure is to me. The front end grip. Woo! The steering ratio, they say, is the same as the C7, but moving the cockpit forward, I could swear it's more direct. Hello, NSX and Ferrari, we are coming for you. Great throttle response, great linear power delivery. I wish that red line came up a little. There we go. Do riff do, no problemo. It's gonna get very light over here. Whoa! Oh, I like this. You're definitely getting rotation on the entry, which is great. Oh, little understeer there. I tried to sort of carry that one through. I got some understeer on the neutral pedal. It's fast, but it's not in a straight line. It's not like, oh, you know, it doesn't have the crazy turbo shove. It's got a great, beautifully balanced power band. And then where the real shocker happens is right here. At the end of a long sweeper, where that front end is still gripping, that's when you go, oh my God, that's amazing. Beautiful through the S's. Good strong brakes. They're only 4-piston, but we don't need more. I love the turn in. It's really sharp. You know, the engine sounds, because that exhaust isn't running underneath the cabin anymore, it's almost like when they put a big 351 Cleveland in the Di Tommaso Pantera. Somehow, that same engine becomes more refined. Nice little balance if you get some oversteer. What a car! Oh my God, I can't believe it's so good. I mean, it smells like a Corvette in here, straight up. Look at that. I love the slide. Yeah, so here, third gear, 45 miles an hour, that's where we're getting understeer. If you want to slide it, you either need to enter that corner hot and transfer the weight, or you need to get on that throttle early and then manage the slide. Oh my God, you guys are gonna love this thing. That's ridiculous. I can't believe it. I can't believe this is what you get for 85 G's. It's unbelievable. Downshifts are pretty good unless you don't have enough revs. And then it just sort of doesn't give you the gear. I wish it gave you a little leeway, you know, like not that it should over rev itself, but I wish it gave you leeway in terms of waiting for those RPMs to come down because you're braking and, you know, it knows. I wish that. But listen, still the best gearbox ever in a GM car. Third gear slide, 3,500 RPM, plenty of torque. Very good. Oh my God, I can't believe it's so good. Whoa! I can't believe it's so good. No, these guys smashed it. They smashed it. Now look, this is a beautifully balanced driver's car. Beautiful. See how much room is there too in the engine bay? Like, Dude, there's so much room in the engine bay for superchargers. They're going to be able to throw an extra 200 horse in this thing, and it's going to be a psycho death missile. Oh my God. But even right now, like, the shock tuning and the ride is so good. I mean, honestly, it's super close to what I would expect from like a 458 or something, but with a small block in the back. Like, what? That's just... Whoa! All right. I'm going to cool her down now because we're going back in, but... Oh my God, are you kidding me, folks? It's amazing. I mean, it is amazing. That is, it's unbelievable. I mean, it's solid, it's planted, it's got amazingly sharp steering. It feels like I'm really right over the axle. It's got great power, but just as much brakes as it has power. Jesus. I mean, if this is what you get, apparently this is what you get for $85,000. That's unbelievable. I mean, it's got some Corvette in it. And again, I don't want to dwell on the there's some cheap plastic here and there, but like, oh my God, that is a driving experience that is not to be missed by fans of cars. I mean, simply extraordinary. Simply extraordinary. Bravo. I'm blown away. Extremely impressed. Thank you to Road and Track for letting me do this. Thank you to you for letting me do this. And thank you to GM's babysitters over there for letting me do this. Woo!
All right. I hope you liked that video. I was obviously having a very good time while making it. To experience that car for the first time on a track, meaning full throttle, red line shifting. Yes, that was red line. I think I might have said 6,000 RPM in the video. The red line is 6,800, which is the lowest revving mid-engine car you can buy. So we can start with that, right? The LS or LT now engine is very effective. It has a wide power band. It's very usable. You can be very liberal with the pedal, and it doesn't, you don't get that, you know, like you get with the big turbo cars, right? But it revs low. It's, I think, still the lowest revving mid-engine car that you can buy. The Evora GT was 7,000, so it's higher. And it felt it, actually, the way it sounded. Now that we've got this mid-engine chassis, the car is begging for a dual overhead cam type engine that will rev much higher. What we've seen in the C8 race car is promising, okay? But it is fast, okay? It is fast, but it doesn't feel like crazy fast, but I think that's just because I'm spoiled with other stuff and because it is so linear, okay? Now, the styling and the cockpit. It was very comfortable. The square steering wheel I still don't love, but when your hands are on it, the ratio is quick enough that you don't have to go hand over hand a lot, and so it's not that bad. When you look at Porsche or Ferrari or even Lamborghini, they have sort of a mellow confidence about how they do an interior. Even if it's aggressively styled, it's got this sort of we've done this before feeling. The Corvette really, when I first got it on the track and I was like, ooh, everything canted towards the driver, this is great. As I drove it on the road, and more importantly, as I was a passenger in it on the road once, there's a big wall and it kind of blocks off the whole passenger. And so, you know, the 911 has, again, this sort of quiet, chilled confidence about how it goes about the business of interiors. It's fairly simple, and it kind of throws back to the past a little bit while being modernized, and it's just screwed together impeccably. The Corvette is like mid-engine, fighter plane, cockpit, highway to the danger zone. It's like, it's such a Detroit hairband mid-engine car. I said Pantera in the video, and it really, the more I think about it, it's very Pantera. So if you like it, you like it. If you don't like it, you don't like it. I found myself in the middle by the end, whereas I was very excited at the beginning.
In the video, I said this Corvette was a hand-built prototype. That actually turned out not to be the case. They said it was built at the factory on the line, and it was VIN number 19, so that's just to clear that one up a bit. On the racetrack, the value is definitely there. Hi, Finn. Do you want to come up? Come on. On the racetrack, the value is definitely there. It's fast, it's balanced, it's a lot of fun, it's direct, you can romp on it, it takes a beating, it doesn't get hot. It was nice. And when you're threshold braking and redline shifting, it does that very smoothly. When I went out on the street and was doing more partial throttle shifting, it was clear that the gearbox is not in a final state of tune, and for cruising, for parking lots, and for partial throttle, they do need to work on the smoothness a little bit, although I was impressed with the smoothness and the response on track, except, like I said, if you hit redline, it kind of died, and it didn't give you an indicator of what really happened, and that can be confusing. And because the redline is so low, it was easy to hit redline. On track, the steering felt very direct, and you could hear the vibration in the video when it would get some push. It would go, and so that was telling me what was happening. But when I was driving it on the road and I was within the limits of grip, not over them, the steering felt a little artificial and video gamey. It was still very direct and it was still very effective, but it wasn't as communicative as the Lotus and the 911 and the McLaren, which I was driving, you know, back to back. Probably not a deal breaker. It's better than like BMW / Supra is doing right now. It's good, but it's a little artificial still. The ride quality on the street, I think, is best in class. I think it's the best riding mid-engine car you can buy that isn't a McLaren 720. The ride on everybody at Road and Track, was blown away with the ride on the street. That was really, and that translated to good on-track mannerisms as well. The suspension was really nicely dialed in. The interior, I love the seat. It was the competition bucket seat, or whatever they call it, the top seat. It was comfortable. It held me in. The steering wheel and shifter and the A touch points, the materials were excellent. The B touch points, the materials were okay, on par with the outgoing Corvette. And the C touch points, meaning the kick panels, the lower part of the dash, was cheap, hard plastic. And so when you compare that to the other cars we had at Peabody, the Lotus, the 911, etc., there was some visible cheapening, both on the exterior and the interior of the car. You know, putting the engine in the middle does not make 1 + 1 = 3. You know, it's still, like I said at the end of the video, it's still a Corvette, and I mean that in a lot of ways. It's built as well as you would expect a Corvette to be built. It's got a small block. It sounds Corvette-y, and a lot of the things that you would expect from a Detroit automaker are present. Having said that, for GM's first mid-engine effort, it is very, very, very good. They have done an excellent job. It feels like it has more chassis than engine, which is a great place to be for a mid-engine car. I can tell you I probably don't really want to be driving the $60,000 one. I mean, now that I've driven a Z51 car, like, I don't want to drive one that's like worse. I mean, I kind of do, because I want to see what people really are getting for 60, but I don't think a lot of the members of the media are going to be driving the $60,000 one anytime soon. Overall, I was really impressed with the car. But as you can see in this little supplement, I didn't remain as giddy. A lot, like, you know, driving a car on a racetrack, a brand new car, the brand new mid-engine Corvette, $1 million prototype, and I'm sliding on a racetrack, like, yeah, okay, a little giddy. Did I have a great time doing that? I absolutely did. But on reflection, here's what we're doing. On reflection and on discussion with Sam Smith and Jason Camisa, Travis Kulski, and all these guys that are great drivers and great automotive analysts, I think a little bit of the luster wore off after it became just a normal car and not, oh my God, this new thing. And it's still a Corvette in a lot of ways. and in other ways, it is a massive leap forward, and it is probably, for better or worse, the most important car of the year. So, thank you for sticking around to this little supplement. I hope, if nothing else, if you have, that it explains a little bit about why, when I have the opportunity, I like to drive cars for as long as possible. I like to drive a car for a week and then make a video on the last day. But this being my first performance car of the year, I had to do a lot. I didn't have much time. I had to share a lot of the cars and the resources, and so you know, you got a first drive, and now you get some later thoughts. So thank you for watching, and I'm sure there was going to be a lot more C8 content as regular press cars come out, probably in the beginning of next year, depending on when the strike is over. So thanks for watching. See you later. Bye.
The new versus used debate is as old as the first used car. Back in 1898, someone said, "F this shit box, I'm getting something new." Now, I like to stay away from such things because the used cars always seem to have such an advantage. But, as it happens, Mr. JF Musial has left us his E46 BMW M3 while he's been out of town. Time for a comparison. So, I asked what he paid for it. 22 grand, he said. So I found another car you can get new for 22 grand that might be even more fun than the BMW. Matt, I have $25,000 to spend. Is there any reason I shouldn't buy an E46 BMW M3? And there are a few reasons why you shouldn't. Number one is BMW owners. You know those people. I know those people. We've seen those people. Do you really want to buy their problem? Fortunately, JF Musial has scored a lovely little E46. He's got this 2003 model, 74,000 miles, CSL wheels, stop tech brakes, coilover kit, and square stance Michelin Pilot Super Sport tires with quite a bit of camber on the front. That camber makes this turn in here really delicious, especially when it loads up. That's where your camber's working for you. On the other hand, on the freeway, the camber does tend to make it dart about while going in a straight line. Under the hood, we've got the S54 3.2 liter inline six individual throttle bodies. At the time, the highest specific output of any engine BMW had ever made, and right up there with the highest specific output of all engines ever made. There's no squeaks or rattles. The interior feels incredibly solid. The motor feels really strong. Everything works good. The short shifter's nice once it gets warmed up. When you first start the car in the morning and it's cold and the fluids haven't circulated yet, it can be a bit of a workout to get the thing in gear. My Audi S4 used to be like that. The clutch feels really nice. The brake pedal with the stop text is firm but very effective. The seats are good, but not as bolstered as some of the stuff you get today, such as the Fiesta ST or the Focus ST. The car is the right size. It's really a good size. The proportions are good, very classically proportioned. I have a hard time believing this car will ever look dated. Although I have no complaints about the engine, it's a very good engine. 10 years down the road, it doesn't feel particularly quick. This thing could do 0 to 60 in 4.8 seconds when it was new, and I have no problem believing it could do that today. But that number is faster than the car would lead you to believe, because it makes 333 horsepower, but it's way up at the top. You really got to wind it out. Compared to the Fiesta, smaller displacement, but with a turbo, which makes all its torque in the mid-range. So coming out of these tight corners here, the Fiesta actually does feel a bit quicker. Revving it out isn't really an adventure, and you don't feel boost building. It's nothing to write home about, honestly. It makes a nice sound. This is just a nice, well-balanced sports car. You're not buying a $22,000 car. You're buying a $50,000 car that has been beat down to $22,000. So, oh, nice T-Bird. So you have to be wary of that. You're going to spend money maintaining this car. There's no warranty. When anything in a BMW breaks, it's $1,500. You have a BMW Business CD, which presumably is called that because it's no fun at all. You have automatic climate control, heated seats, automatic windows, automatic headlights, cruise control, and some steering wheel mounted controls. You open the door and start it with a key, and everything else in here is fairly analog. These gauges will never go out of style, but there's not much to see here. No nav, no iPod connectivity, no phone, no special wow me gadgets. Just a really nice steering wheel, really nice shifter, some really nice pedals, a sweet sounding inline six. So it is a good car, but like any used car, it really does depend on the individual car. This E46 is really nice. Is the one you're gonna buy really nice? I don't know. There's two kinds of people who own this car. There are drivers who spend a lot of time on the racetrack, and there's utter D-bags. I know quite a few of both. JF and a couple other of my friends that are racing drivers and have these things, it works with them. The D-bags, it works with them too. You just got to be careful which one of them you're buying the car from. Let me tell you how much I love the Fiesta ST. I loved the Focus ST too, and I didn't think anything was wrong with that until I drove this. This thing makes 197 horsepower, but only weighs 2,700 pounds. And it's on a short wheelbase and 17-inch wheels, and it has unbelievably direct steering, amazing brakes, great Recaro seats. Look at this, and here's the turn-in. It is just hilarious fun for anyone of any skill level. And on the street, where speeds are lower than on the track, this thing is the king. Now, I know what you're thinking. Farah, the Fiesta is front-wheel drive. There is no way it could be as good as an M3, which is rear-wheel drive, because rear-wheel drive is always better. Okay, let me explain something to the people out there. Not everyone wants to drift. Some people like drifting. I like drifting. Chris Harris likes drifting. A lot of other people, though, think they like drifting until they try it and wrap their car around a telephone pole. In a straight line, the E46 will have this by 2 seconds, which is a lot. That's a big number. But I'm telling you, you'd never know it to drive it, because a lot of that has to do with gearing, how many times you have to shift in order to hit 60 miles an hour. And within a gear, let's just say if you put a car in 4th gear and just roll into it, I think the Fiesta feels just as fast as the M3 in gear. On the track, I might concede that the M3 is the better choice, but for 25 grand, you're buying a car that you're going to be driving on the street 90% of the time. And on the street, the Fiesta is incredible. I cannot believe that $22,000 gets you this much performance and this much fun. Feel to me is much, much more important than the numbers. I don't know about you, but I'd much rather be driving a car that feels fast than driving a car that is fast. Especially because as an amateur, odds are I can't exploit every bit of a car's performance all the time, except in something like the Fiesta, where I can. The shifter after the M3 short shifter feels a bit like a semi-truck, but compared to anything else, it feels nice, fluid, really engaging. The seats, tons of bolstering, thigh bolstering, side bolstering, so much bolstering that you actually have to break the seat in, otherwise it feels a bit too tight. The pedals are really good, perfectly spaced for heel towing, and believe it or not, the steering feel is better in this than it is in the E46 M3. Now the M3 is better in terms of both materials and in ride quality. It's a much better daily driver in terms of being comfortable. This car is very stiff and you really do feel everything in the road. What was interesting was the first time I drove the ST, it was on the track, and I didn't notice the torque steer because once you get into third gear, it's pretty much gone. But coming out of tight bends in second or coming off the line in first, there's quite a lot of torque steer. You do have to fight it a bit. It is kind of an adventure, but I don't really mind it. This car's like perfectly manic. Like it's just a little bit too much, but the perfect amount of a little bit too much. And I don't really care what the numbers say. This thing feels fast. No one ever gets in this car and thinks it's not fast. This is a fast car. It's really unbelievably good. As we learned today, $25,000 goes a real long way when buying a car. Whether you decide to choose new or used is up to you. Me, I would say that if I was going to keep the car for less than 5 years and I was going to lease it, or I needed the back seat for any reason, I would go Fiesta ST all the way. If it was a car that it was going to be more of a weekender, special occasion, road trip car that I was going to keep for 10 years or more, the M3 has sort of a lasting quality to it that you don't really get with the Ford, even though the Ford is a little more fun in the short term. Two badass cars. Well done, JF. We're going to buy Thad one of those, so we'll have it at the house. I'm Matt Farah. See you next time on The Smoking Tire. Listen to our podcast. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. Especially Instagram, because I post dope pictures.
Send us money.
Send us money for t-shirts. There's an MR2. First gen. We out, son! What kind of a sports car would you build if you had no frame of reference? It's a strange question to ask since almost all enthusiasts have at least some kind of experience with a sports car, especially if you grew up in Southern California. But Mark still is a rare breed, a true enthusiast, fabricator, and artist who just wanted to go fast, but he didn't have any idea what a properly sorted car should feel like. All he knew is that anything he needed, he could probably make himself using his background as a welder on major Hollywood productions, and that he liked old Corollas. This may look like a 1975 Toyota Corolla, but that is only if you judge it by the bodywork. Because while this may have started out as a 1975 Toyota Corolla, it most certainly is not one anymore.
My name is Mark Still. We're in Duarte, California, which is about 10 miles east of Pasadena. Okay, it started out as a 75 Toyota Corolla. If you go by weight, it's actually more SC400 because it's sitting on Lexus ST400 front and rear suspension, and it has Lexus ST400 motor in it. I haven't put on a dyno, but I'm guessing it makes about 300 to 400 horsepower.
Now, when you're building a project car in your garage by yourself, and you have limited experience of both car building, engineering, and setting up suspensions, the results could be interesting at best, disastrous at worst. And yet somehow this car, which yes, feels old and takes some practice, feels amazing. This car was built for this road. He liked to drive here and wanted to build the perfect budget, home-built sports car to climb this hill. Now, once you get the hang of it, and you start believing it will get around that corner, it actually will. Everything on the car is completely functional. There's no style mods here. Those fender flares may be what drew me to the car in the first place, but the only reason they're there is so you can fit a modern suspension and modern rubber underneath the bodywork. That hole in the hood is a cool way to show off your supercharger, but ultimately, Mark had no choice. It just had to go there. The tires, very sticky Hankook RS3s. Car's got an unbelievable amount of grip. It feels obviously very race car-y. The steering rack is right off the Supra, and it's very light. A lot of assist in the power steering. I'd have chosen a rack with a little less assist. And we've also got the only original part of the interior, the steering wheel, which is huge. And because of the shape of the cockpit and size of the wheel, I can't really steer properly. I have to shuffle steer. The turn-in is very, very good once you get the wheel cranked over. A smaller steering wheel and a quicker rack would go a long way here. But throttle response is instant. Yes. Winds out nicely to 6,000 RPM red line. It's got a very aggressive clutch. Shatters a little bit when you get off the line, but good engagement. The T56 gearbox is pretty good in this application. It's burly, it's got good ratios. Whenever we see this home-built stuff, it's always interesting to see what kind of creative solutions people have come up with. So, for instance, he wanted the car to sound like a Ferrari, but what he had was a Lexus V8. So what he did was he used the bundle and snakes headers to create an imitation flat-plane crank V8 sound.
180-degree headers, they cross over two tubes from each side, and the purpose of that is to even out the exhaust pulses. Because a normal V8, the firing order, is such that two cylinders on each side fire one after the next, which to the exhaust system is just one big pulse. That's how you get that lumpy V8 American V8 sound. 180-degree headers even those pulses out. And they're called 180-degree headers because they simulate a 180-degree crankshaft like in Ferrari.
This car on the highway will actually get 20 miles per gallon. Apparently in the canyons it gets around 8. But what's surprising is it rides really nice. I mean, it feels like a race car in here, but I'm not getting banged around or anything. It is kind of warm. Even though we put heat shielding on the transmission tunnel, there is still heat just cranking off this thing. And my right calf is a little burned. Matt's feet are on fire. But even though it's hot in here, our engine temp has been holding at 190 all day. Oil temp has been holding at 200 all day. Everything works perfectly. The hard stuff has been engineered well in this car. You can't be gentle with it. This is a grab it by the scruff and go, and don't really say you're sorry. But when a guy tells you he's got 4,000 man hours into his car, there's only so hard I'm willing to push him. There's a lot of custom work in this car, and frankly, most of it should not work as well as it does.
Home-built cars are special things, and as such, don't carry an engineered predictability the same way the best factory sports cars do. So while I will come out and say that there is no way I could get the most out of Mark's Corolla in just an afternoon, I was thrilled to get a taste of something so special, even for just a little while. Fortunately, Mark does know how to get the most out of his car, and at the most recent Hotchkiss Autocross Challenge at California Speedway, Mark placed first in class and 7th overall out of 80 cars on the grid. He ran within 1/10 of a second of a brand new C7 Corvette. Against all odds, Mark still has proven that sometimes the best way forward is indeed to start with a blank slate. Hey guys, welcome to the 2016 Shelby GT350R. Those of you who have been with us for a few months will know that I flew all the way to Lime Rock in Connecticut for 3 laps in the regular 350 in the rain with an instructor. And although the car was great, the experience was a little disappointing. No one's fault, it's just the way it was. I think they felt a little bad because after our big group track test at Thunder Hill 2 days ago for drive, they let me take this car home for a week and play by myself. I did track test the GT350R for drive. The video will be free and coming out very soon, but we're going to see how it is in the canyons today. You know, being the R, it's obviously the more track focused of the 350 models, but that doesn't mean it might not make, it doesn't mean it won't make a good street car. In fact, I'm hoping it does because I plan to buy one and daily drive it. And so you're going to see it's spectacular. Voodoo V8, 5.2 liter flat plane crank, 526 horsepower, Tremec gearbox, 373 Torsen diff in the back, magnetic shocks, Recaro seats, big 15.5-inch brakes, 6-piston in the front, 4-piston in the rear. They've tweaked so many things. There are entire articles dedicated, thousands of words to the chassis tweaks in this car. And after driving one for 3 days and on the track, I'm convinced you could not replicate it in the aftermarket for anywhere near what this car costs. So let's go for a drive, but let's choose our mode. We're gonna go, actually I prefer the dampers in normal for the street, our steering feel, which is adjustable through the electric steering, in normal, which is the middle one, and then we'll go to sport in the performance traction setting, and then of course my favorite button, the loud button, which makes it loud. Oh. All right, here we go. This car feels very, very special. It's just a car that as soon as you start it, it has such a motorsport feel about it. Red line that basically never ends. 8,250 RPM. It sounds like you're being chased by the Civil War. And the ride and the handling are all just amazing. The wheels are carbon fiber, they're by Carbon Revolution, and the price difference from the regular 350
to the R, for all the stuff you get, is less than the retail cost of just the wheels. Listen, 5,500 RPM. Crazy on the downshifts. The tires are Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2s. They're a little loud for the street, but extra grippy on the circuit. The Tremec gearbox feels so much better than the Chinese MT82 gearbox. It really isn't right at home in this car. And of course, the whole package feels very hunkered down, in no small part due to that carbon fiber wing and splitter exclusive to the R, which give this car more downforce than a 911 GT3. But anyone who's ever driven a 911 GT3 or a Ferrari will recognize the specialness of an engine like that. This has the same kind of specialness. It has its own feel, its own vibe. It sounds like a Grand Am car. I mean, and I'm still in third gear. The red line doesn't end as these guys pull out very slowly. Cyclist. It's so ridiculous. At the track day at Thunder Hill, I actually got out of the Viper ACR and got into this. And although, yes, the ACR is faster because it's a race car, this was more fun. It feels livelier, more playful. Even compared to the Camaro Z28, which is great. This has 20 more horsepower, weighs 110 pounds less, and like I said, it feels livelier. The engine is freer to rev. It's happier to be up top. Nothing wrong with an LS7, nothing at all, but it doesn't have the specialness that this engine has. And for all its power and all its capability, it's forgiving. It won't bite you in the ass. It's capable and communicative. The steering could have a little more communication, but it is direct. You rev it just to rev it. You upshift just to downshift. Unlike some other road course oriented cars, this gearbox actually really rewards fast shifting. If you get lazy with the shifts, the engine revs up and down so quickly, it becomes tougher to rev match. But if you're going quick and you're shifting quick, it's real happy. These brakes, I did a 30-minute track session. They didn't lose a single bit of juice. They were golden. And we've caught a Jeep. Okay, until this guy decides to pull off, there are a couple of downsides. One, because of the weight savings, you lose the back seat. These panels aren't covered in the extended leather, and even with the $3,000 tech pack, the radio still kind of stinks because it's only 4 speakers. Also, these Recaro seats, they're a little tight for a guy like me. They might break in like the Fiesta STs. I certainly hope they do. And it's loud. It's loud. All right, well, if he's not going to go, I'll turn around. It's loud to the point of proper obnoxiousness around town. At the racetrack or up here, it seems about right. Oh, good turning radius. It seems about right, but around town, it's so obnoxious. So I actually put it in quiet mode around town. Also, the chin splitter scrapes a bit around town, but it's cheap. It's plastic. It's easily replaceable. And, you know, you've got 305 section tires in the front, 315 in the back. And when you go over a 300 up front, if the road isn't very good, it does catch bumps and the nose moves around. On the track or a good road, it's fine. On the 405, it stinks. But, fair trade if you ask me. It's just so special feeling that the revs just never ever end. And actually, believe it or not, I drove this car 500 miles back from Thunder Hill yesterday, And I did manage 20 miles per gallon at like 85 to 95 miles an hour the whole way in 6th gear. So really pretty decent fuel economy given the high revving NA performance. Also, below about 3,000 RPM, it does not make a ton of power. It's usable, but if you want to go quick, you really do have to keep the revs up, which to me is well, it's a plus and a minus. It's not a drag car. It'll still do 0 to 60 at under 4. It'll still run low 12s, but it's not a drag car. It's a road course car and a canyon car. The sound is worth it. The sound is worth the price of entry. Perfect pedals for heel towing. The seats, they are keeping me in place really, really well. I'm able to steer with my fingertips and not by hanging on. You know, all right, so I'm a little bit of a Ford fanboy, and that's because I've owned so many of them, and they've been fun, and they haven't let me down. But I know the people behind this car, and the passion they brought to this project is unlike the passion I've seen from them anywhere else, really. I mean, this is Jamal Hamidi at SVT, and an old friend of mine said this is the Mustang he's always wanted to build. And knowing what I know about that guy and his team and what this car is like to drive, this is the Mustang we all want. Everybody wants it, and I want it more than all of them. This water bottle is around. Sorry. And I didn't even hit red line there. The power band is so wide. This is the greatest car, man. It's so good. Wow. There are a couple downsides to the car, yes, but there's nothing about it that takes away even the littlest bit from me wanting one so badly. So much grip. So much grip in the front. So much grip in the back. And that sound is so unique. It does. People say it sounds like a Ferrari. It doesn't. But it does have semblances of the Italian stuff. It's more like a Ferrari V12 that you hack 4 cylinders off of than it is like a 488, which is higher pitched. This has got some bass to it. It's nuts. It's nuts. And with these magnetic shocks, even in tour mode, this is the softer mode, but look at this. There's no loss of sportiness. It just dials out some of the bumps here. As we turn around, I'm going to go back into sport shocks, and we'll see if we can see the difference. I hope you guys. I mean, look, you guys are going to accuse me of being paid off, which is completely ridiculous. These cars are selling for 20 over. They don't need to pay anybody. Everybody wants one, okay? But I want one more. So, Jamal, Saeed Deep, all you guys, Jim Farley, Mark Fields, hello, this is Matt Farah saying, I want one more than all of your VIPs combined. I do. Backup camera's nice and clear, although the turning radius is not great. You want to try launch control? Let's try launch control. Launch mode is active. And go. It works. You only need one shift to hit 60 miles an hour. Okay, I'm done now. I just wanted them to get a drive-by right there. So, okay. Upsides are many. Special engine, incredible engine. Suspension tuning, incredible. It's only 3,700 pounds, which is going to be a lot for you guys, but trust me, it's not. The carbon wheels, I mean, the sticky tires, the supportive seats, suede steering wheel, I mean, professional grade shifter treatment. I've already mentioned the bad things. There are not enough good things to say. It's crazy, and I want one, and one way or another, I'm going to have one. Mark my words, because it's incredibly special, and if you can find a way, you should get one for sure. See ya. Morning, everybody. Welcome to Malibu. This should be properly exciting. I'd like to welcome Mark to the program. Thank you, sir. A quiet gentleman with a unassuming vehicle. A super sleeper. I think I'm going to go as far as to say super sleeper, as long as you've seen the outside only of this car. It looks like an unassuming Honda Civic. However, inside, holy gauges. Holy gauges, holy accessories. Tell me everything about this car, Mark.
So it's a 2014 Civic Si. I got it stock back in 2014, and then I started off with a Countach supercharger.
We drove one of those. It was great.
Yeah, it was nice. It made good power, but it just wasn't enough top end for me.
Okay.
So I eventually sold that, and I got a turbo kit. So I'm running a Make Speed turbo kit with a Comp 5862 ball bearing.
Okay.
And I started off with a stock motor. I was pushing around 12, 13 pounds of boost.
Uh-huh.
That made around 400 something with E35. So I'm doing like an ethanol blend.
Uh-huh.
And then I built the short block. And I had Weisco pistons, Manley rods,
oh, wow.
and ARP head studs.
Is this a 2 liter or is this a 2.4 liter? Okay.
Yeah.
And so now what's it making?
I dynoed it just earlier this week. Funny thing about that is the intake temperature sensor actually popped off during the dyno.
Uh-huh.
So I lost some boost, but at 16 pounds, I was making around 450.
Wheel?
To the wheel, yeah.
Wow.
And 370 torque.
To the front wheel?
To the front, yes.
And you have an LSD in this car?
Yeah, it comes with an LSD.
Okay, oh right, the SI does come with LSD. All right, well look, that's a shitload. I'm excited. This is going to be interesting. Let's see how it drives.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the clutch is heavy for a Honda, but light for pretty much anything else.
It's an Action Stage 4 clutch, so it's...
Stage 4? They got 4 stages of clutch, huh?
They have all the way up to 6 now.
So is this... All right, that's a turbo. Is this your daily driver?
Yeah, I daily this car.
Wow, all right. Okay. Well, good news is, aside from the extraordinary amount of gauges in the car, everything inside seems pretty normal. The shifter feels pretty normal. The seats are pretty comfortable. Oh, look at that. Is that a Model A? That was lovely. All right, straight away, 4th gear, and...
That's actually...
that was about half throttle.
That's actually... Right now, you're in the low boost setting.
I'm in low boost?
Yeah, low boost. So you're making around...
How dare you bring me this car and put it in low boost?
There's a switch on the side. You flip it.
We're going to start with low boost.
Okay.
As we get used to it, and then go to high boost.
Sounds good.
Wow, this is... makes all the noises, huh?
Oh, yeah.
All the tuner noises. It's real happy at 4,000 RPM, 4,500 RPM.
That's around where my turbo starts spooling, yeah.
That's hilarious.
So
There it goes.
So you're pretty much getting instant throttle response right now.
Yeah, it's pretty nutty, man. It's the suspension's firm and this road's not perfect, so you get bounced around a little bit, and up at the front it's gonna fight for traction. But
exactly.
Boy, is that an interesting build! Wow, how about that? You do have to give it
a little bit of
typical Hondas on the downshift. You got to give it.
You got to jab it a little bit.
Took me a second to get used to that. Wow, there's a
Once you start getting into the turbo, there's a bit of a learning curve.
Yeah.
That is hilarious. Do you have anything for suspension or really supporting mods, or is it kind of all about the motor?
Well, I originally started with just the motor, but it wasn't putting down the power because the suspensions were really soft from the factory.
Right.
So I upgraded them to, right now I'm running Buddy Club racing specs.
Okay.
So they're around 10K in the front, 14K in the rear. And I have full race traction balls. So what those are spherical bushings, the lower control arm. So that reduces wheel hop by a ton. And if you actually want to switch to the high boost, it's that silver switch. Just flip it down. Down, yeah.
So that's it. Now we're in high boost.
Exactly.
Boost on switch, okay. Okay, front wheel burn out there. Front wheel burn out there. Whoa! Holy hell, man. So what's the difference between low boost and high boost?
Low boost is running around 12, 13 pounds. And high boost is around 18, 19.
Oh, wow.
So it depends on the temperature.
Yeah, that's the difference, huh?
Altitude.
All right, well, I don't want to sit behind this Camry missing a bumper. That's not fun. We're gonna see if he goes off the split here, and if he doesn't, we're gonna take a little break and get us some room, because there's a lot of power, my friend.
Yeah.
Oh, don't go. Wah wah. Okay, okay. This is what happens when we drive in the real world. We will wait. We're gonna go here. We'll be right back. Excellent. All right, here we go. Ready? Clean. Look at this. So here's the problem, right there, which is front traction. So, Mark, what do we do about the fact that
you got to use some street slicks or something really sticky?
So today you've got a street tire on it.
Yeah, I have the Pilot Super Sports.
Those are good.
Yeah.
But they're just. Wow, fourth gear is really where it's at.
Yeah, fourth gear is the gear when you start getting full traction.
Yeah, this thing goes in fourth. This is pretty nutty, dude. What a crazy build. Does it have a very light flywheel on it too?
It's a lightweight flywheel. That's why you hear the chatter when you let off.
Yeah, and also, you know, when you go to upshift, it comes down to meet the next gear very quickly.
That's why you gotta jab it really hard when you
that
rev
too,
match.
yeah, like here.
Yeah, there we go.
So, what do all these gauges do? We got a lot of them.
I have boost on the very left.
Wait, hang on, I want to hear it, but hold on.
Okay.
That's a motor.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god, imagine this motor like an aerial atom. You'd kill yourself. That's crazy, dude. Okay, so on the left is boost.
Yes.
And then what is that?
That's oil pressure. A wideband, water temperature, and oil temperature.
Wow.
And then the one on the tack is actually the ethanol content. So it's around E40.
Okay, and then what is that down here?
That's my ham radio.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it's not nerdy enough to have a 500 horsepower Civic. You have to have a ham radio.
I communicate with my friends on the long distance drives. So it's just faster than using your phone.
Actually, I've had several people try and get me into ham radios.
Oh, really?
No joke. Yeah, apparently because they, the cell phones don't work in the canyon.
Yeah.
And I guess the ham radio does.
Yeah, but you need a license for that. So it's just a matter of passing a quick test, and then you'll get your license.
I think I'm just going to be a ham radio pirate. Oh, here, I don't need to. There's a big ravine there that I don't need to see today. This thing is nuts, Mark. This is deep into sleeper territory, because I mean, I know you've got a few boost stickers and stuff on it, but on the outside there's nothing to differentiate this from a regular side.
Yeah.
Even the stock wheels.
Yeah, stock wheels.
Have you gone to a drag strip or anything in this?
Yeah, I actually have.
What does this run on your street slicks?
On my street slicks, last time with like high tire pressure, and I shifted early on one gear because I was nervous, honestly. But I did like 12.3 at 117.
In a Civic, in a front wheel drive Civic. I mean, that's pretty.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. And also, I don't want to make fun of your drag racing skills. Drag racing is hard. No, drag racing is really hard, and like, you know, if you got 12.3 and, you know,
it was the 2-second 60-foot too.
Yeah, like you're not a pro, and I bet you a pro could run middle 11.
Yeah,
in this car.
Exactly.
That's really impressive, dude. What a neat car. I mean, I thought it was going to be cool, and you showed up here and it represented. We'll go back to low boost there now. That's awesome. 450 wheel in a car that looks just like a regular Civic. Good luck getting traction,
All
sir.
right, thank you.
Thanks for coming out. Thanks for coming all this way.
Thanks for having me.
I know you came from far away, and what a neat build. I hope the audience appreciates it in the way that I do, because I think this is really, really neat. So thanks for watching. See you all tomorrow. Later.
The spectrum of cars out there is the size of the world itself, and the only way to see them is to actually go there. And so when an opportunity to film car culture in New Zealand came up, thanks to Andy, Kaz, and Rob, the creators of Automation, we took them up on it and brought back these films. Automation is the first car company tycoon game where you can design your own cars and engines in crazy technical detail, test them, and create your own version of the perfect car company. And rather than buying banner ads, they called on us to help sell it. Without them, we wouldn't have these videos, so check out their game at automationgame.com. Sit down, relax, pull up a chair, and turn up your speakers, because I'm about to blow your mind. I want to tell you a story about a 22-year-old kid and his rally car. By his rally car, I don't mean a rally car he owns or a rally car he races. I mean a rally car he made in a barn from scratch.
My first rally I did when I was 15 years old on a learner's license. I literally just passed my driving test to drive on the road. And yes, I progressed, and when I was 18 I started building my own car when I was still at school, and 19 I was the youngest ever winner of a national rally in the Subaru, and not long after that I started designing the Peugeot MC2, which is completely my own car, scratch built, everything, mid-engine, fiberglass carbon body.
Each part, each system has its own story. From design to execution, a combination of home design components, homemade components, and parts purchased used, originally intended for WRC teams, such as the brakes and wheels.
The interior of the car, I sort of wanted to make it look like a world rally car, so it's got like a cool touch panel display, and the dashboard has got an RC jet engine in it for the demister to stop the windscreen fogging. It's just, yeah. 0 to 100 k is about 2.6 seconds. 0 to 200 k's is about right on 7 seconds. It only does 200 k's an hour, but on a little dirt road with trees, that's really fast. The car weighs 1,000 kilos, and it's about 450 horsepower, naturally aspirated V6 engine out of a Formula Renault 3.5, which is like a small Formula 1 car. And they changed from the V6 that's in my car to a V8, and that meant that all their 40 V6s were obsolete, and I found where they were in France, and yeah, made an offer and managed to get one, which was the perfect engine. It was the heart of the project. And gearbox is in the middle, right between the seats, 4-wheel drive, 6-speed paddle shift gearbox. All of the suspension, the shocks, I made myself in this barn, and there's about 600 pieces to each one. The chassis, the whole car basically, the only bits we bought were the engine and the gearbox, really.
Suffice to say, the neighbors all know when Alex is testing.
check it out now.
Oh, dude, that's something else. You don't get that. I mean, you can say you don't get that every day, but like, you don't get that ever. That is some truly next level. Not even next level. That's like 5 levels. Like, you're serious? You built this car in a barn. You promise?
Yeah.
Fuck. I'll never get to ride in a rally, world rally car, but I don't think I'll have to now. I think that pretty much covers it. The speed at which he can go in this car without notes. I tried to do notes. How many corners did I make it? 2? I think I made it 2 corners with notes, and then I just threw the paper down. Oh, wow, dude. Thank you so much. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now I know why your mom doesn't like it.
You ever watch one of those rally videos where you can't believe how stupid people are to stand that close to the stage? Watch me learn that lesson right now. Here I am, filming some slow motion with my iPhone, and here comes the MC2. Right as Alex passes, this rock, this one right here, flies up at Nolan Ryan's speed and makes direct contact with my left nut. Here is me collapsing on the ground, and here's the shot of me trying not to puke my face off. The funny thing about Alex and his MC2 is that some people do not wish him success. In New Zealand, those who really excel are brought down by some serious haters. Alex, for doing the most awesome thing I've seen someone do in a long time, has to deal with people who doubt he actually built the car. Of course, other people did help with the MC2. I mean, look at it. You think one guy can build that by himself? Gordon Murray couldn't build this car by himself. Burt Munro couldn't build this car completely by himself. There are experts, friends, family, and professionals who've joined Alex on his journey for the spirit of the build and the rewards of seeing how well the car performs out on stage.
We had a discussion last night about various internet commenters, and I guess the tall poppy thing happens here a lot. It doesn't. It seems like New Zealand, it's like they really, if you get too successful, they get really annoyed.
Big time.
Really?
Real bad with this car.
I imagine that would be tough.
It was.
Why do you think people don't think you did it?
I don't know. I think it's probably because of my age. I don't know. The reality is, I did, so I don't.
You can't really argue with truth,
No.
I guess.
It would be far too easy to chalk this build up to mere money, but come on, how narrow-minded is that? After all, you could give me all the money in the world and all the time in the world, and I could never come up with anything that looks, feels, sounds, or goes anything like the MC2. That would require a cube. don't know about you guys, but I like slam cars. But there's nothing worse than when slamming a car takes away from the essence of its function. The guys from Acuair think that they have a solution to that problem, which is why they've brought me the world's most slammed Audi S4, and I've brought them to the world's bumpiest canyon road. So, let's take a drive, shall we? It's a good car. Let's go.
I feel like you brought us on some pretty challenging roads today. This is definitely some of the roughest, but yet most fun. I mean, some good tight corners and really a place to prove if a car can ride well.
Welcome to Acuair's 2013 Audi S4. I have chosen this road for a specific reason, because this is the bumpiest canyon I know of. They just repaved some of it, but it's still pretty sloppy. Like, I probably would not drive my Corvette on this road. We're here to answer the question, can there be a happy medium in between show car stance, race car handling, and everyday practicality? Because if you have an Audi S4, you are going to want all three of those things, right? You want to look dope at Supercar Sunday, you want to stun it when you park, you want to come up here in the canyon, and then you want to be able to clear speed bumps, driveways, your garage in California, whatever it is. You need all three of these things if an Audi S4 is going to be your only car. So first, let's see, what did Acuair do with this car? Well, let's start with what didn't they do. They left the stock struts.
A lot of cases, the stock dampers are good enough to do really well for the car. It also leaves us the option of allowing our product to slip over an aftermarket damper of any level or quality that you choose. We slide our air spring over the damper. In the rear, it's a damper and a separate air spring. And then we outfit the car with an air management system, which is located in the trunk, and an electronic leveling system, which keeps the car level for you automatically. Basically, we developed a system that bolts specifically onto this car and is designed and engineered and spring rated to have the best possible performance on this one vehicle.
It's a little bit firmer than stock, but just barely, and only on the small stuff. The big stuff, it takes about the same, but it's not bouncing. When you hit a bump, down, up, once, that's it. There's 3 preset levels, low, medium, and high. Right now I'm driving on medium. Low is the stunted out, high is the clear speed bumps. There's also manual adjustments from each corner. What's cool is it's auto leveling. It takes measurements every few seconds and levels the car accordingly. You stop, you pick up a passenger, it adjusts for that weight. You load your trunk full of luggage, it adjusts for that weight. You start driving on a road that's banked one way, it'll adjust for that, but it won't make adjustments mid-corner.
So the way the system works, it has onboard storage for the air, and so basically it can recover very quickly. So if we're coming into a situation and we want to raise the car, it can raise within like a second and a half to your raised height, so you can now get in a driveway or do something quickly. So from the touchpad, you can call your 3 saved heights. You can also choose your all down function, which is for parking. We also have our iPhone app, which is called the iLevel system, and that gives you all the same functionality over Wi-Fi through your phone.
Now it's going up. Now I'm on like number 3, the highest setting is about a ½ inch higher than stock all around. So I can go straight in and out of driveways here. I can go without having to weave around speed bumps and potholes. What it really does well is soaking up big dips. On this road, if you mess up, you die, which is why I want to have a predictable suspension. And this, look at this. Look at this. It's going, isn't it? Big Stop Tech brakes up front, look like about 14 inches, cross-drilled. They're biggies. Oh, look at this, it's whipping. Heavy braking there. Yes. Wow, I can't believe I'm on airbags right now. It rides really good. It's making adjustments a little bit here and there, but it's soft without being floaty.
You know, we've spent 12 years, my whole team of awesome people together at our company. We're 43 people today, which is incredible. The whole objective is to bring more performance to these kind of vehicles and bring technology in the process of doing it. And to me, I'm excited about the future because now we've got the opportunity to really start developing some advanced products.
In the past, I've always thought about Air Strider or a bus where you'd want to adjust the height or the level, but where ride quality or handling at the limit wouldn't even be on the radar, let alone your primary objective. Basically, I've thought of them as modifications for slow-moving vehicles only. When it comes to the OEMs, we see them on a lot of German luxury SUVs and sedans that have to keep a lot of weight riding smoothly at speed, but also at no expense spared. This bring the versatility you expect from a high-performance luxury suspension, added the level of customization that comes with an aftermarket package that improves both the look at a show and the handling at the limit, without giving anything up in terms of ground clearance or comfort. Obviously, the handling changes a bit as you adjust the height of the car, but that's a good thing. And even in just under $5,000, imagine what it's like to add 5.5 inches of adjustability to your car's suspension. For me, that's the difference between being able to park my car in my garage at home or in a warehouse 10 miles away. I'm always skeptical about new suspensions because it's rare to see one done right, but you do get what you pay for, and this seems worth it. In the last week, we've put over 5,000 miles in this 2011 GT500, and before we give it back to Ford tomorrow, I thought we'd have one last hurrah in the Malibu Canyons, and we've brought along a friend. This is the Firebreather. Started its life as a Camaro, but now, with classic design concepts and Exodus Pictures' help, it's a 600 horsepower monster that plays the hero car in the new film Gin, due out next year. I've been one of the few select people who've gotten to see the trailer of this movie, and it looks sick enough that I demanded the keys to the car. We're the first people to drive it on camera, and who else would it be but the Smoking Tire? Let's go have some fun. You thought Lotus, what you were really thinking of was this. We've put over 5,000 miles on this car on the Bull Run in the last 2 weeks, so I would say that we have probably more experience driving this car than pretty much any other journalists out there. And here's what we've learned. There's a lot of great things about this car, starting with the engine. All aluminum 5.4-liter supercharged V8, makes 550 horsepower, 510 pound-feet of torque. It's a massive engine, power absolutely everywhere. You can drive this car all day long without revving it over 2,000. Or you can keep the power band high and have more passing power than you'll ever need. 0 to 60 in 4 flat, quarter-mile to mid-12s, and a top speed limited to 155 miles an hour, which I can tell you, you can easily achieve on any open road. Sounds a lot like a Ford GT, and it should because the engine layout is very similar, though not identical. Some of my favorite things about this car are how comfortable it is. The seats are great, the seating position is great, there's lots of head and shoulder room. In 2 weeks of driving this car across the country, we never once felt cramped or uncomfortable. The interactions between the driver and the car are really good. Shifter, steering wheel, and pedals all seem to be in exactly the right place and feel great to the touch. Originally, I had a problem with missing shifts in this car, but it turns out I was just shifting it too fast. If you shift slowly and deliberately, it'll actually reward you with a perfect rev match every time. On smooth roads or a racetrack, this car is incredible. Fortunately, when the road gets bumpy, the live axle really starts to show itself, and you realize quickly that the convertible chassis, which isn't nearly as rigid as the coupes, isn't really enough to handle this much power. Overall, I have to say that both Tom and I have really enjoyed our 2 weeks with this car, and usually the way we can tell if a car is good or not is if we're going to miss it when it's gone. And this car is going back to Ford tomorrow, and I do have to say, we are both really going to miss it because it's such a smile car, it's such a smile mobile, and we love that. But we've got another car to drive today, not just this Shelby. It's a little more expensive, a little more exotic, and a little bit more rare, but still has the same kind of feel as this. nobody would ever tell you that a Shelby's styling is conservative. Except that when you're driving next to the Firebreather, because this car is so aggressive, when it comes at you, it's so angry. When you think about a spirit of evil in a movie, this car is very appropriate for that spirit of evil. Every movie needs a hero car, right? All the good ones have them. And this is the hero car for a movie coming out in about 6 months called Jinn. Let me explain to you what Jinn is. It's on the premise that in the beginning, God created man from clay, angels from light, and the jinn from fire, which is where the term Firebreather comes from. And the hero of the movie drives this car, this exact one. This one was built for the movie. And the coolest part about the Firebreather is it's not just a movie prop car. Classic Design Concepts, along with Exodus Pictures, is making a limited run of 50 of these cars to sell to the public. And that's significant because it's the first time that you've ever been able to buy a movie hero car directly from the company that made the movie. As cool as this car is, it isn't cool enough to no longer be a Camaro. But it does have 600 horsepower. It's got a supercharged 6.2 liter V8 running an Eaton blower that makes 12 pounds of boost. Yeah, it goes. It goes good. To keep all that in check, you got an I-box suspension, Hirsch short throw shifter, and the Classic Design Concepts Trans Am style body. I think that if GM were to make a Trans Am, this would be a pretty faithful interpretation of what it's like. Firebreather only shares the doors and the roof with the Camaro. All the other body panels are different. It's not easy to drive, I'll tell you that much. It's a little tricky to drive. The thing I really don't like about Camaros in general is the low roof line. Like, I'm a big guy, I'm 6'3", but I'm not that big, and my head is touching the roof here. The seat's as low as it goes. Forget about putting a helmet on in this car, because it ain't happening. And unlike the Mustang, this car does have an independent rear suspension. So what that means is, it weighs a little more. This car is over 4,000 pounds, and the Mustang is under 4,000 pounds. But it's a little more stable on the bumpy roads, a little more confidence-inspiring when you hit a bump mid-corner. The Mustang is real scary if you hit a bump mid-corner. This thing handles it pretty nicely. The driver interactions, not as nice as the Mustang. The steering wheel is among the worst in the business. And because this car is a prototype for the movie, it's not entirely complete. The production model is going to have LED taillights, but they were too bright for filming, so they used incandescents on this car. It's also going to have a fully leather-wrapped center console, which this car doesn't have right now. But it's a movie prop, so we can forgive some of these things. Well, now that we've had our fun with these cars, I think there's only one thing left to do, and I think you might know what that thing is. I'll see you at the top of the hill. I'd like to thank Blackmagic for sending us on the bull run. I'd like to thank Ford for lending us a car. And I'd especially like to thank Team Ford for these rear tires when we needed them most. And I'm going to show my appreciation by doing the one thing I do well.
Morning, everybody. Welcome to Santa Clarita. Beautiful day for a drive today, and this is Brian, and thank you so much for coming out from Project Import. What is Project Import?
We're just basically a grassroots shop. We've been around for about 13 years, and we modify, trick out Japanese cars.
And you've brought your Infiniti G35 Coupe. What's been done to this thing? It looks like everything.
Yeah, actually, it's a customer's car. They got it out there.
Okay.
It's just, he's a really great customer. We're great friends. What's been done to it is that the complete engine's been rebuilt, you know, forged internals, and it's got a twin turbo kit. Not the best turbo kit, but we make it work.
Okay.
But it produces a ton of power.
How
it's
much
just
power?
got its little nicks and things. 550 to the wheels currently.
Oh, that should be good.
Yeah.
And are you running a lower compression engine as well?
Yes, 9-to-1 compression. So,
what's the stock?
Stock should be about 10.8 to 1, I believe.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
let's
VQ35.
And I assume you've got some suspension happening and all that stuff because it's a track build.
Yes, it's got some Tane flex coilovers.
Okay.
Older suspension, but it does its job.
It's gonna be loud in here, so try and speak up if you
Yeah,
can.
of course. Yeah, it's a great car. He just basically wanted us to build it for him for track use.
Well, when these things came out, they were super, super popular. And,
Yeah.
And really gave the 3 Series a run for its money.
Exactly.
This one doesn't seem so. Oh, wow.
Yeah, the brakes are
What do you have
insane.
for brakes?
It's a Stop Tech 6-piston in the front, 4-piston in the rear with DTC 60s.
Well, it's very sensitive with brakes.
Yeah, sensitive brakes.
So far, I've been about half throttle, and it's really got good torque.
Yeah.
Is this thing running?
It should be running about 15 pounds. We had it tuned a few months back, but then it produced, he took it to Fontana, the Roval, and one of the studs for the turbo actually backed itself out.
Oh no.
So we had to kind of patch it together before this. So hopefully it's perfect.
It's either going to be perfect or it's going to explode, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's the way to do it though.
Wow, this thing is real serious. So we're on a very tight road right now, and although I thought this was a good idea in the beginning, I actually think we're going to go the other way in order to properly explore the power, because this is just too much car and not enough road. So we're going to go the other way,
No worries.
which is cool. These Sparco Evo seats are good if you're your size. They're a little small for me.
Yeah.
I rock the Evo 2 XL and I love it.
Yeah, right on. Sorry about that.
No, it's not my car. I don't know. I can handle it for 15 minutes. Steering's really light. It's got good feel though.
Yeah.
How many miles are on this car, you think? This chassis?
40,000.
Oh, is that all?
Yeah.
Clean go. All right, power. Cutting just a little bit.
Maybe overboost.
Maybe, but you get really good power at about 5 grand. Wow, this thing is fast. Oh, the neighbors are gonna love us. The external wastegates are, they're not subtle at all, really.
No.
Does this thing shoot fire? I bet
Yes.
it does.
And it has a 2-step, so we can blow out flames like nothing.
Oh, boy.
He basically wanted to just really piss off Corvettes on the Roval.
Okay. I like people that have a goal.
Yeah, that was his goal.
This thing is pretty nuts, man.
Yeah.
So is this a properly one-off build, or is this something that
It's a one-off build.
you could do for another customer if you wanted?
We could duplicate it, yeah. I don't see why we couldn't duplicate it. This is the craziest we've gotten with the G35. We do a lot of Zs and G35s. It's just, he had a goal in mind and we went for it.
Wow. Shifter's really nice. Is that the standard shifter?
I believe so, yeah.
It's really like nice and crisp.
Yeah. We rebuilt the tranny a while back.
And with this cage, although I know it's a little dangerous for me to be doing this,
Yeah.
It's just such a rigid chassis.
Yeah, it's a great chassis.
They're pretty good out of the box.
Yes, exactly.
But with the cage, you can really feel the extra rigidity.
Yeah.
And actually, I mean, did you lose a lot of weight by taking out the power seats and stuff like that?
Yeah, actually you would have. Each seat, I believe, stock seat's about 75 pounds.
Yeah,
so these things maybe about 25,
That sounds
30.
about right. Wow. Great power.
Yeah, it's a fun car.
It is. So was it, I mean, you said you're not totally stoked on this turbo kit. Did you adapt an existing kit to this car?
Well, it was supposedly a bolt-on kit, but it wasn't bolt-on at all.
Really?
No, nothing fit right at all. We did our homework on the kit before because we wanted a good amount of power, and everybody was speaking good about this kit, and once we put it in, I went to put it in, and it, yeah, every pipe basically had to be cut, welded, fit right. Yeah.
Well, it's got really good balance through the corners. Have you like corner weighted this car and done all that kind of aggressive alignment or anything?
That's not aggressive alignment at all. It's got some camber in it, but only a 64th toe out in the front and then neutral in the rear. It's just really to give you a little bit of better feedback, and then, but he still drives it on the street. So he wants to drive it, you know, every weekend in the canyon too.
Yeah,
so
you don't
we had
want it darting all over the place.
Yeah, we have a somewhat fine balance, it seems like, of uniball front suspension bushings and then some urethane to keep it, you know.
Well, it's not super clunky or clattery.
Exactly.
And it's got a pretty good ride to it as well. It's not super stiff.
Yeah.
It's got that rigidity, but without the over stiffness.
Exactly. It's actually pretty nice to drive on the freeway, surprisingly.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I bet. What kind of, I'm going to flip around because I don't want to fall in a cord, but what kind of tires are you running on this thing?
Toyota R8s.
Oh, they're AAAs?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Usually, I mean, I guess it's such a loud car, I don't hear them, but usually the R888s, let me wait, if I coast. Oh, not as loud as I'm used to.
Yeah.
Why is that? Have they been running through a few cycles, maybe?
The fronts I know have. He just threw on some rears recently because he wanted larger tires because it was breaking traction too much.
That seems sketchy.
Yeah.
Hang on. Does it have a upgraded differential, or is that just the standard?
It's a Quaife.
Oh, it's a Quaife.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So it's sort of it's set for balance between road and track.
Correct. Yeah, I didn't want to put a clutch type or anything like that in because street driving is a pain.
I know what you mean. Yeah, you don't want to have to make a 3-pointer.
Yeah.
This is here we go. Here we go.
That's nice.
This thing is pretty neat, man. So far, other than that's reversed. So far, other than that little hiccup we found, it's pretty good. And we're clear. All right, let's run through first gear. That's fire. That was definitely fire.
Yeah.
Ooh, it's pretty manic when you get into the pedal, man. It wants to jump out of its own shoes a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And if you haven't turned traction control off, it usually doesn't grip at all.
I believe traction control's still on. I didn't mess with it. Maybe that's why it was cutting. Actually,
that actually could be it too.
I didn't think about that. Wow, this thing is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
That's definitely traction control for sure. Because I bet it's a semi-primitive system, right? It's not one of those super advanced.
No, it's a 2003, so you can't expect too much.
Yeah. So do you guys you said you do a lot of work on Infinities and Cs and stuff like that?
Yeah, we're kind of, we don't say we specialize in just everything, but we do a lot of Subaru and Infiniti lately. It's just kind of, you know, you follow the market and go with what you want. I've got a C too, so, but yeah, we do a lot of Nissans and Infiniti.
You can get a G35 or a 350Z for like not much money right now, right?
Yeah, it's great. You can grab a decent one for like 5 to 8K.
So if someone came to you with a smaller budget, I just bought a 350Z, they're not that great out of the box, but it's a good starting point. What are your like 4 key mods to really wake up a Z car?
Wake up a Z? You gotta do suspension, brakes, that's for sure. So if you want, depending on what they're looking for, you know, track, I'd say coilover. Street, I'd say spring and shock. But just update the pads and rotors and lines, and then those are the simple ones. And then for power, I mean, Z, you just gotta go for safety. You don't want to blow the motor up, so I usually do a track setup, header, cat delete, and a tune. So
that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Tune, exhaust, suspension, brakes.
Yeah.
Maybe a little cooling if you're tracking in the car.
Yeah. The car's not too bad on cooling if it's a factory motor. It's just we know that these motors are known to basically disintegrate pistons.
The oil temps go crazy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. Oil temps, and then you disintegrate a piston, so you have to do oil cooling if you're really tracking it, and then headers, either high flows or test pipes, and that really helps you out from knocking the pistons to crap.
That sounds about right. The Z's I've driven that are like bolt-on cars that have that stuff are much better than the stock cars.
Oh yeah.
Damn, that's a fast car. This thing is good.
Yeah.
building one of these.
Oh yeah, and they made so many units, it's insane. It's like, it's so easy to find parts for them now because just between the G35s and the Zs, you gotta pick.
Well, this is really, really interesting. I mean, I'm not really surprised it's such a good platform for a build. I mean, it's, you know, it's low, it's wide, it kind of has the fundamentals.
Yeah.
To build off of,
yeah,
for sure, to add power. I mean, the kit makes power.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
a fast car for sure, man.
Oh yeah, exactly.
And one day, maybe I can take this to the track or something. I'd like to see how it does on a track.
We're going in September.
All right,
so,
cool.
Or
Well,
later this month.
It's a really neat build. It's a smaller car, but it's roomier in here,
right,
and it feels pretty light on its feet. If you happen to be a bigger guy,
yeah,
the G35 is actually, because I'm actually way down low.
We slammed the seat specifically because the customer is about 6 foot.
Yeah,
so
I like this. I like this low headline thing. That really works for me. And you know, even though it's not your favorite turbo kit, it seems to make the power.
Oh, it makes the power. It just wasn't the favorite turbo kit because, like, somebody tells you, like, hey, it's bolt-on, and then it's not bolt-on. That kind of makes you,
Well, that's tuning, isn't it?
Yeah, that's tuning for you.
Thanks,
exactly.
Brian. I appreciate it. Check out projectimport.com.
Yes, sir.
Projectimport.com. If you're in Southern California, maybe you have a Z you want to get some advice on or do a build. This is a cool car. It's cleanly built and it's very fast and makes, I don't necessarily want to say all the right sounds, but it makes a lot. It makes a lot of them.
Right, yeah, it makes a lot of fun sounds.
That's cool, man. Thank you for coming, and
thank you.
And thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you later.
Bye-bye.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a very special car. This is the Lamborghini Huracan VF800. It's VF Engineering's car, and it is supercharged. And so what that means is 806 horsepower and 647 pounds of torque at the crank, thanks to an Eaton 2.7 liter positive displacement supercharger mounted right on top of the motor. We will get into why this is a good idea, but first they've requested that I actually do a launch. And so, let's see. Here we go. Ready? Thrust mode possible. Here we go. Oh my God. Four-wheel burnout. Traction control is going back into Corsa, just in case. This car will do 0 to 60 in 2.3 seconds, 0 to 105 seconds, and run the quarter mile in 9 seconds. Oh my God, look at this. Holy shit, it's like a spaceship. I can't believe how high that number just was. Okay, now the cool thing about this kit is that it is $33,000 and you mount it on an otherwise stock car. It doesn't need anything else, just goes right on. 7 pounds of boost. These engines do not need that much to really, really wake up. VF does the tune. If you're going slow, and I remember this from VF's Gallardo, you'd never know the kit was there. And if you're going fast, you'll never forget it's there. Much more usable torque down low than with the turbo kits. Those turbo kits are great if you're in Florida and can actually run the car out. Listen to the sound, the whine of the blower. Fuck. Nutty. Ceramic brakes up front. Oh boy. Oh, dirt in the road. Okay. Steering, very medium force, very direct. Here's a tight section. How's this gonna go? We're dragging dirt all down this road. Oh my God. Okay, in sport, it's a lot easier to modulate than in Corsa. Corsa gives you a very sensitive throttle. Focus. It is all-wheel drive. In sport mode, it'll send up to 90% of the torque to the rear wheels. Now, VF says, oh, Jesus. This is a gentleman dragging a log. You know, I don't even know what to tell you. This is a guy dragging a log on a chain down a road. He has no control over this log. And oh my God. Guy dragging, all right, let's get the fuck out of here. Okay, I thought I'd seen it all. Guy dragging a log down a road. Manual. Let's go. Hopefully there's no logging operations back this way. Easy to drive, but requires some thought because you gotta be ready. You gotta be ready. It's not that the car isn't forgiving. It is forgiving, but you gotta be ready for what is gonna happen when you get on the power. Oh, it's mental. Now you may have, if you're an astute viewer, you may notice I'm sitting a little close to the steering wheel. That's because this car has a harness bar behind the seat. The owner is quite a bit smaller than I am, and so it doesn't affect him, but it does affect me. Jesus Christ, it's so fast. It's a good thing it's got really good brakes. They can keep up. Oh my God, it's warp speed berserker style, but very, very planted. Loads of grip. Gearbox, extremely responsive. Doesn't upset the chassis when it shifts, but it still gives you a little bit of kick on the upshifts. They haven't engineered that out yet. They've left that in because, oh, I'm trying to think, but forgive me if I can't. All I'm thinking about is not driving into a wall. Shit, man. Wow, this is some next level right here. It's just so fast. And I don't even know what to say. It's so fast. Let's not go over this dust. It opens up a little more down here. Get to use the power a bit. It's crazy. The power band is very, very wide, from $4,000 to $8,500. Look at this. I can't tell you how fast that was. That was about a 14. Whoa, doctor. Wow. It's blowing my mind. Whatever you see in front of you will not be in front of you for very long. Oh my God. That's nuts. I want to do one more pull up this road before I give this thing back. I can't give it back yet. Oh my God. Look, this tarmac isn't great here, and it really takes it very, very well. It rides nice. Here's 5,000 right now. What the fuck? You know, it's easy to just throw out that this car is too fast for public roads, and that wouldn't be so far off. But I don't think it's too fast. I think this is the fastest thing I would ever want to drive on a public road, because you can drive it slow. Why would you want to? You can't believe the delivery. I mean, you cannot believe it. It's so, the thrust is so hard. It's so crazy. Oh, sorry. the speedometer climbs so fast. It almost, when I hit the gas, it almost wants to pull my hands off the steering wheel. That's crazy. That's just it's perfect. Don't change anything. Leave it exactly like this. This is the perfect Lamborghini. I'm out of things to say. Oh my God. These guys at VF, they consistently impress me. And I maintain that if you live in Florida or Texas or somewhere where you can really run a turbo car, if you go mile racing or something like that, I get it. But for a well-rounded package where you can drive this, really beat on it, and have no loss of drivability at all, and it's exactly like you want a Huracan to be, but when you put your foot down, it warps space and time. Wow. Thanks to VF Engineering, and if you happen to have a Huracan and 33 grand laying around, you have no excuse to not have one of these, because it is spectacular beyond belief. I'll see you guys next time. This is the $480,000 Lamborghini Aventador Roadster, a poster car if there ever was one. And for all but a few hundred lucky souls this year, such a machine will remain a poster car, unattainable in reality, yet a constant reminder on our walls of what we would drive if we had all the money in the world and gave exactly zero f***s. But you really can't appreciate a car like the Aventador, or even the word supercar for that matter, until you get behind the wheel of the car for which the word supercar was invented, the Countach. Now, in the interest of accuracy, supercar was a term coined for the original 1974 Countach LP400, and the one I'm driving today is a later 1988 model 5000 Quattro valve. But if I'm honest, this is the best of the bunch. Gold magnesium phone dial wheels? Check. Big wing? Check. Fender flares and US bumper delete? Oh yeah. It's ridiculous in every way, an uncompromising, insane tribute to sheer speed at all costs. If you ask me, it's perfect. It's got a 5.2-liter V12 engine, 4 valves per cylinder, 26,000 original kilometers, and it is just the greatest thing ever. The original owner of this car was famous Lamborghini tuner Al Bertoni, who put one of his custom exhausts on it, and it sounds fucking fantastic if you ask me. This car makes 420 horsepower, and that's because it has the US spec Bosch Jetronic fuel injection. The Euro cars of the same year made 460 horsepower because they were using Weber carburetors. The clutch is very heavy, the shifter is very heavy. The brakes are 4-wheel disc and they are moderately effective. I can't wear shoes, but the pedals are great for heel towing barefoot. It's crazy because even though there's no rear visibility, the front and side visibility is great. These A-pillars are really thin, and even though the shifter is very stiff and you gotta muscle it around, it's gated, so it just is satisfying click, 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 click. What I wasn't expecting was the steering is brilliant. No power steering, but the ratio is really nice. The rack is really nice. You don't have to put in any more effort than, say, my DeLorean. 3-point turns suck, but you know. These seats are, they're not meant for a human being. Certainly not one of my size. But it's worth it. It's the 80s. The 80s were all about compromise, right? But my whole life, people have been telling me how terrible these things drive. And you know what? They're all wrong. Because while it may be terrible in traffic, while it may be terrible to cruise around LA, up here on Angeles Crest, it's fantastic. The rear tires are 345, 35, 15s. There were only 2 options for this car in 1985, and this one has both of them. The rear wing, which was $5,000, and the Alpine stereo, which was $7,500. That wing is totally worth $5,000. Some people, there's like these purists out there that think it looks better without the wing. I completely disagree with them. I think the best version of this car is this version, where you have the fender flares, the phone dial wheels, the Euro bumpers, and the wing. Best combination you can get. And you could say, well, yeah, it's terrible to drive around town, though. Guess what? So's the Aventador. So are all the new Lambos. Oh, that's nice. But even independent of the nostalgia, it's really nice to drive. The nostalgia makes it even better, though. As much as I adore this Countach and would drive it all day long to the detriment of my own spine, I think it's time we hop out of it, hop into the Aventador Roadster, and see what 30 years of progress has done to Lamborghini's V12 supercars. Don't expect us to be surprised that Lamborghini has come a long way since 1988. In the last 25 years, the V12 has grown by almost 2 liters, gained an entire family sedan's worth of horsepower, spins the front and back wheels, and ditched the gated shifter for paddles. It's also gained nearly half a ton, loads of technology, safety equipment, and lost its roof. But as we can see, it's not lost any of its extravagance from the outside. Does it feel quite so special from behind the wheel? Let's find out. Left foot brake, right foot gas, and we go. I reviewed the Aventador Coupe on Drive not long ago, and I don't want to say a lot of the same stuff over, wasting your time. So go watch that by clicking this annotation and then come back. I'll wait. And we're back. Okay, here we go. 7-liter V12, 700 horsepower, all-wheel drive, paddle shifters, all the goodies, digital gauges, 8,500 RPM redline, 220 mile an hour top speed. All good things. And here's how it does in the corners. Not so good. And I'll tell you why. It's very heavy. It's over 4,000 pounds. It's 1,000 pounds heavier than the Countach. It's all-wheel drive, and a lot of that weight is in the back. 255s in the front, 355s in the rear. So, strangely, you have to change your driving style for the Aventador. It doesn't want to rotate under power, but it rotates nicely under heavy braking. So you actually kind of have to drive it like a front-wheel drive car, trail braking all the way past the apex, and then not feeding in power until you're pointed straight again. But it does have an unbelievable amount of grip at the limit. Once you've got it set, once you've got it going around that corner, tons of grip. So much so that you kind of hold your breath and clench yourself And that, combined with the very heavy steering, means that after a few short miles of driving this car, you're kind of out of breath, which is an interesting trait, and not entirely undesirable, mind you. On the other hand, some things are worth compromising for, and a 700 horsepower V12 is one of them. And a funny thing happens when you're driving an Aventador. It's like a circus. Everyone wants to take pictures of you, everyone stares at you, everyone calls at you, but not necessarily for the reasons you want them to. When non-car people look at you, or when women look at you, you're a total bag of shit. Some people want to know how it is that their life is so unfair that you have this and that they don't. There are a couple of truths to this car, and one is that you cannot be an introvert and drive it. You have to be comfortable with everyone staring at you. Two is that even though it's a supercar with all this horsepower, all this tire and ceramic brakes, it's kind of not what you'd want on a racetrack. You know, a 458 or a 911 or something that's more agile. You know, this car corners well, but it doesn't change direction well. So the first time you go through a canyon, it won't be a very popular opinion, but you'll kind of hate it. You'll go, oh, it plows, it pushes, it's got heavy steering and I can't see. But then you learn to drive for the car, trail braking later into the corner, getting on the power a bit later than you would normally would, and because you have 700 of them, it's okay. And all of a sudden, it gets better. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm making an It Gets Better video for Lamborghini owners. But it is so fast.
Now, don't get me wrong, the Aventador is a very cool car, but it's also a product of the digital age, a gold iPhone 5S on wheels. It's fun to play with and show off to your friends, that is, until the newer, faster, better version comes out. The Countach is as analog as it gets, and therefore is completely timeless. There's no sense that you need to have the latest and greatest in technology. The Countach owner appreciates the old school. And if you want to call a Countach owner, you won't get him on his gold iPhone 5S. If you want him, you'll have to speak to his secretary. The spectrum of cars out there is the size of the world itself, and the only way to see them is to actually go there. And so when an opportunity to film car culture in New Zealand came up, thanks to Andy, Kaz, and Rob, the creators of Automation, we took them up on it and brought back these films. Automation is the first car company tycoon game where you can design your own cars and engines in crazy technical detail, test them, and create your own version of the perfect car company. And rather than buying banner ads, they called on us to help sell it. Without them, we wouldn't have these videos, so check out their game at automationgame.com. When planning our trip to New Zealand, we were fortunate that the Automation guys had some great connections to the car culture, and I requested that we film a variety of cars, predominantly ones that are not available in the US. We found 40-year-old British coupes, 20-year-old Japanese sleeper sedans, a two-door Evo, and more. But I had one demand if we were going to fly halfway around the world. I wanted to see, hear, touch, and drive the holy grail of tuner cars. I told them to go out and find me a 1,000 horsepower R34 Skyline GT-R.
$1,000 horsepower. Oh yes. Well, not really, because you see, while this engine does make 1,000 horsepower in racetrack trim, it was raining all morning before the shoot, and so Faisal, very generously I might add, turned the boost down to only 720 wheel horsepower, which I assure you on these New Zealand B roads is plenty.
My name is Faisal Ramzan, and this is my R34 GT-R. The GT-Rs, the R34 especially, they came out in the year 99 to 2002, and at that time I was studying in Australia and I got really interested in this particular model. Since then I've been in love, and I told myself at that time that I will own R34 GT-R. Yeah, finally got there and ended up buying it. When I bought the car, it was in pretty bad shape. Shaggy outside, didn't look too good. I had a plan in mind that once I own a R34 GT-R, how it would look and what sort of power it would run. But this was, in terms of what I have now, it was very mild.
Oh my God. Everything you ever thought could be true about an R34 Skyline, the myths of it, is absolutely real. There's nothing about this car that isn't just spectacular. I mean, from the power delivery to the steering feel. I have to get around a camper. Watch how easy that is. Just the word. I mean, the word Skyline triggers so much, you know, to an American, because it's such a forbidden thing. We can't have these cars. And even in New Zealand, where they do have these cars, the GT-Rs are pretty rare. We've only seen 2 of them our whole trip. There's no cheats, no backyard stickering. This car is absolutely road legal.
That was my whole aim, to be able to run a high horsepower car, but have it street legal at all times, because at the end of the day I want to be able to drive this on the street legally, have no issues with the cops around, and be able to drive it on my holiday, 6-10 hour drive wherever I wanted to go.
Just for shits and giggles, I'm just going to demonstrate something else for a minute. I know it's not what you want to see, but I can drive slow. It's refined. I can shift at 3,000 RPM and cruise around. The clutch is very light, a little bit grabby from a stop, but you know, when you're talking this kind of power levels, that's sort of to be expected, but it's not heavy. And sitting here, extremely comfortable. The seats are good, steering wheel's great, visibility's great all around. I have so much information coming at me, but I can't even look at it because I have to focus here. And just even half throttle is like engage warp drive. That was only 7,500 RPM. It goes to 9. It is a cardinal sin that you can't import these into the country. Now, make no mistake, this is a very high dollar car. This is not a cheap car, even though Faisal has done a bunch of the work himself. He's an engineer. He's made parts that have gone on the car that are useful, that work. But nevertheless, this is a really expensive car.
There's always big dollar parts that are available off the shelf that you can buy. This wasn't the case for me. Basically, if I needed to do something in the car, I needed to think it up. I needed to do the market research and see if I could come up with a better solution for it. The strut tower brace, basically the Z-Tune model of this car, they come with this strut tower, and only the authentic Z-Tune model owners are able to buy this off the shelf for crazy amount of money. I really like them, the way they are made out of titanium. So I thought I'll come up with a solution that I could get built here in New Zealand. I looked at pictures off the internet. They were very basic ones from very different angles, so it was very hard to work out the proportions on the strut tower. but I managed to do it being a structural engineer by trade. I kitted it up myself, did the drawing, did the specification, dimensions and everything. And yeah, you see what is in front of you right now. And it looks pretty much exactly like the original stuff.
Here, look, we'll show you what 9 is. Oh man, you know, I'm as jaded as they come. I get to drive a lot of cool cars. It takes a lot to impress me these days, but this is impressive on every level. I feel bad about that. I really do. I'm sorry, Faz. I couldn't not do it though. I have to go fast.
Everything that has gone into the car, whether it be body mods or engine mods, I made sure that it worked and it did something for the car rather than it just looking pretty on the car itself. So yeah, I went step by step. I knew exactly which face I wanted, so that brought me to the Nismo front bumper. Then came the Z-Tune guards, which I got off Japan, and then because it's not an original Z-Tune car, but I like the shape of the front guards, I custom designed the vents on them so that it would be a bit different from the Z-Tune guards. The other aero mods on the car, I think it up, wind deflectors, wind splitters and all that, diffusers, everything. I came up with ideas. Most of them I've built at home, just every afternoon after work or in the weekends, shaping them, designing them to what I liked and what I wanted. And the end result, I think the whole car just goes together and everything works quite well.
You could cover ground at unbelievable speeds in this car. It's not that you don't feel it, you feel it, but the car just wants more and more and more. And this is on pump gas, just your basic premium unleaded gas, that it makes all this power. And, you know, if this isn't one of or the fastest road legal car in New Zealand, I don't know what is. Because I can't imagine trying to drive anything faster than this on this road. You know, there's just enough lag when you get on the gas that it makes it fun. It's like, and go. How do we end this, right? Where do we go? Simple. I got 9 years. My new goal for the next 9 years of my life is to find a way to buy one of these and make it just like this one.
This place would make Jay Leno, Ralph Lauren, Sultan of Brunei very jealous. So I'm gonna give you a little walkthrough of their storage facility. You got the Celine S7 right here. It's a twin turbo. Not a twin turbo, but a Celine S7 nonetheless. Back here, you got a 93 Celine Mustang, Boss 302, 1970 or 71, C1 Corvette, Impala SS. Come on back over here. We've got a Whipple Supercharged 4 GT, red, no stripe, 800 horsepower. Got another Celine Mustang over here. This is an S281E. In the back is a Chevelle SS convertible with a nice big motor in. I've seen that one. Up top, under this cover, another Celine Mustang. Then we have a 1993 Mustang Cobra R. And then hiding in the back up there is a BMW M1. Extremely cool. And then coming this way, right here, we have a 1996 BMW 850 CSI manual transmission with a two-tone leather interior. Of course, we've got the requisite
got a Porsche 996, no big deal. Jeep Wrangler, no big deal. Come over to this side. We have many Mustangs. What's up, guys? Here's the 2013 GT500, which they're modifying with all kinds of fun little goodies. Celine Fox Body, Celine Fox Body, Celine Fox Body. Look at this, is a crazy collection of Celine Mustangs here. This one's Mystic, which is super cool. S281 Extreme. Ooh. Mystic paint. Then we've got the Celine SSC, which is very rare, very cool, all in excellent condition. The really rare one up here is the Celine SA10 Fox Body Mustang. I love these wheels, they're awesome.
The big monoblocks.
Big brakes, very fast, S351 powered. I believe it's a 351 Windsor in that car. And then we have a yellow Celine S351 Speedster. And another Celine earlier one, Supercharged 302 convertible, another Celine Mustang. Crazy, right? So then we got, of course, the Ghost rolls on 22s. I'm not a big rim guy, but these look pretty good. This car is cool because it's matte blue wrapped. And in order to do that, they had to do a blue wrap and then a matte finish clear wrap over it. So there's actually 2 layers of vinyl of wrap on this car, and it cost, no joke, $11,000 to do that. And it looks pretty cool, actually. Very cool stuff. Back over here, got, I don't know what year exactly, maybe one of you guys could tell me, but an early 1970s Porsche 911. Ferrari 360 Challenge Stradale, one of my favorite cars. Not a big fan of the 360, but the Stradale is what's up. We've got a early 1980s Porsche 911 Carrera, and underneath, the Ferrari F355 Spider. It's a Fiorano edition, so one of the last 100 cars built. Up here we've got the E30 M3, and below it, the E46 M3 Lightweight. They actually have in their facility 7 of these. They're collecting them, so they have one with under 100 miles on it. This one has a few more, but they're all minty fresh.
Let me get on this side here for the light.
Okay. Cool.
Yep.
Next to the E36, we've got an Eleanor recreation Shelby Mustang. I don't know who did this one, but it's very clean, nice. Ferrari 400i, admittedly not one of my favorite Ferraris, but also looks really clean. Ferrari Testarossa, 2 Porsche GT3 RSs. As we come back, we've got 2 Porsche 930 Turbos, both in Guards Red. 930 Turbos are some cool cars. And then up front, we've got a BMW 2002 Touring Alpina. That's original, extremely cool. And another E30 M3. And that's just on one side of their warehouse. So let's go to the other side of the warehouse. All right, on this side of the warehouse, we've got a lot more cool stuff. B5 Audi S4, I don't know what kind of power's in it.
Go in a little bit closer so I can, there you go.
Cool. On this side, the cool stuff remains to be cool. B5 Audi S4, 2.7 turbo, another GT3 RS. This one obviously has seen some track time. It's got some chips on it.
It's a good thing.
It's a very good thing. The Pro Touring Camaro, it's like it could be a 69 with what appears to be an LS7 engine in it. This thing is really neat. I'm a big fan of it. Of course, a single turbo conversion Toyota Supra. Very clean. Hard top, no, cargo roof. Probably a 96, 7, or 8. Another single Mustang, Supercharged 302. Volvo Q1800. Shelby GT350 SR, which is a resto mod car. I don't actually know what engine's in it, but probably fast. Skyline R34 Spec V. Very cool. Mercedes 560 SL.
1 second.
You do this. Yeah. Do one of these. Shooting video. One of these guys?
Big wide shots.
Big wide shot for a big
There
wide
you go.
man.
I got to the lightweight.
You got to what?
The lightweight M3, so all
Oh, okay, cool. All right. Mercedes 560 SL, blah, but worth money. Of course, the Nissan S15 Silvia, not legal to drive on the street. Neither of those cars legal to drive on the street in this country, but who gives a shit when you got them? And then some Altima thing. 2 more M3 lightweights, Nissan 370Z project car over here. Nissan 370Z from the Fast Five, the hot chick drove it in that movie. They put a wing on it and done some other stuff to turn into a drift car.
The seat still smells.
The seat still smells like vagina. This thing is super cool. I'm a big fan of two-door wagon, and this is a 50s Mercury, and I absolutely love this car. It's extremely cool. The interior is very nice. Look at that interior. Very sweet. Maserati, that's a piece of shit. We've got a Camaro G28 vinyl roof. It's pretty original. It is a manual car with 302 in it. Porsche 996 Turbo. Another Shelby GT500. That one's a 2012. Another Saline Mustang, and of course the suicide door Lincoln Continental convertible. Crazy, right? One of the best collections you'll see